Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Spaced Out Radio tonight. How y'all doing? Hey, we made it through the hump day, and it is on our way to the weekend. So far, so good, and we got a great show for you tonight. Science Bob and Friends with Dr. Bob McGwier. The ever studious Cheryl Costa is here with us as well. Dirty Filth will be continuing his art from last night. Before we bring in these fine people, let us say hello to everyone in the chat room. Race Fan in the gold medal position. Roy Boy with the silver. Smithy taking home the bronze. Hi, Awesome Man B. Obi Fled is here. Obi Fled will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Grand Paul Holland and Michael Morris. How you guys doing? Awesome Man Palmer. The lovely Judy of Gaul has returned. Sounds so royal. Judy of Gaul. Rock the Gas Bar is here. Rock the Gas Bar will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Mark Longoria. Hallie, how you doing? And Dirty Filth, good to see you in the chat room. Scrub-a-dub-dub. Dave's in the tub. There he is. Cherokee Cloud, thank you for coming on in. Raven is Ryan. And Kentucky Robert, how you doing? The Dutch Princess, Sally Vandevoorde. Thank you, Sally, for kicking off the super chats tonight. Very much appreciate your love and support of Spaced Out Radio. There's Stunning Jeanette Sanchez, Big Dog, one of our favorite veterans who listens to this show. Black Dragon, the former Marine. We love you, my friend. How you doing? And who else is joining us? Oh, there he is. It's Doug Shelby, everybody. The Doug Shelby has arrived. Yes. Yep, there he is. And who else? Well, there's Sally's great super chat kicking it off tonight. Cherokee Cloud, thank you so much for this amazing super chat as well. We very much appreciate it. Big Dog as well, thank you for a wonderful super chat. And I know you loved meeting Science Bob in Vegas. And we got to make sure that Cheryl comes to Vegas next year with us. Hangs out and parties with us at the SOR fan party. I think that would be cool. Lovely Linda Thompson, not only showing up in the chat room, but dropping a super chat as well. Thank you, Linda. We love you around here and very much appreciate your hard work for the UFO community as well. Brown Dwarf, nice to have you here. Oh, there she is. It's Manitoba Becky. They call her the Wheat Queen in Brandon. Scowling Greg O'Brien. Raven is Ryan. How you guys doing? Thanks for coming on in. Greg, we will get to that question in hour number 2. Please remind me. Millennium, how you doing, brother? And who else is here? Neon Death Pixie, welcome to SOR Chat. And Impish Sun Bunny, welcome to SOR Chat. Lovely Lisa Compton, good to see you back. Corbanian, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. As we continue with roll call here, there's Scott Jensen. He prefers the silent J. Yes, he does. All right, gorgeous Kathy Evans, nice to see you. And there's the stunning Lala B. Yes, she used to be Lala C, but she is upgraded to Lala B. She's going to Lala A next. So she's moving on up. Ozzy, oi, oi to you. Grantavius, Blues in G Music. Chris. Teen, how you doing? Looking lovely tonight. And who else? There's gorgeous Kathy Hughes. And the lovely Aussie Ange, nice to see you. And who else? Mark Sanchez. How's the hair, buddy? It was looking good in Vegas. Hope it's still looking good now. In the studio, Nice to have you. Science Bob, thank you so much for that wonderful super chat. Very much appreciate it. Magnus Zerum, thanks for coming on in. Eric Austin, welcome to the chat room. And who else do we have? Frontier Studies, welcome back. Chad Robbins, welcome to the show. And who else is joining us? Desert Rat, Pam Harris, thank you for coming on in. We are 28 seconds away. Vin Man, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. Hope the mosquitoes aren't out yet in Winnipeg. The gorgeous Dirt Road. Tom King, the legendary hair of Disclosure Tonight, is here. And who else do we have? I think we may be caught up. We're caught up there. Who else has joined us late here? The Bohemian Decadents. Welcome to SOR Chat. Papa Craig C., how you doing? Thanks for joining us. 3 seconds, everybody. You know what to do. Horns up. Let's rock. Of Central British Columbia to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, at KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out the Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show for you tonight. Science Bob and Friends is back with our special guest, Cheryl Costa. You know, we're going to be dropping some magic, some UFOs, and lots of statistics tonight. Then in hour 3, our resident swamp dweller will bring us another spooky story. Fedora John brings in the UFO report. Shirky Poo will have the news. Let's get right to it. Every month around this time, Science Bob is here as Dr. Bob McGwier, formerly of Virginia Tech University, courtesy of the CIA, joins us to talk about the who, what, where, when, and why, along with how, and not so much woo. Although he is getting a little woo these days, we just got to, we got to adjust the knobs a little bit to accept a little bit more of that woo that is injecting into his system. And tonight we have a special guest on Science Bob and Friends. You've heard her here before. Cheryl Costa is one of the true brains of the UFO world. She really is. And I really do believe that is a complete understatement. Cheryl is a resident of upstate New York. She saw her first UFO at age 12, and she is a military veteran. So thank you so much for serving. And I know you served in Vietnam, Cheryl. So thank you so much for your love and your service to everything that you do. She has been named the Researcher of the Year in Ufology in 2018 by the UFOC, the International UFO Conference there. And she is completely involved and in-depth with the statistics and everything that goes on with ufology. Let's welcome in Science Bob, and we can't forget Dirty Filth, if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, is here drawing some amazing art once again. Science Bob, how you doing?
I'm doing super duper, Dave. It's so glad to be here and glad to have Cheryl Costa joining us again.
Cheryl, it is so nice to see you back. I know you're on a little vacation hidden somewhere, between the Aztecs and New York State, maybe a little bit more west. But you were enjoying yourself after a big conference this past week in Ohio. How you been doing?
I'm doing good. Got settled in Ohio and been busy working on the next series of books.
Wonderful. Now, Science Bob, you specifically requested Cheryl Costa to be our guest tonight, and usually you're like, who's coming on this week? And I'm like, I got to find somebody. But this time you're like, no way, we're bringing Cheryl Costa back on. I mean, what do you love about Cheryl, Bob? I mean, she's just brings everything to the table.
Well, she's no holes barred. She speaks her mind, and she's got a track record dealing with this phenomenon we're all interested in for years and years and years and years, while the rest of us were, asleep. She was writing in newspapers all over New York, and she published. She got access to the MUFON database through membership and hard work, and produced the UFO desk reference in its first edition version, and then came and visited us here as she was introducing the US desk reference for the second edition and bringing it up to date with the latest statistics. And um, it is a firm foundation for taking the MUFON database and turning it into a product that we all can use. Now, so the thing that's gone on is Cheryl has decided, and software technology, publishing from the home, software technology has improved so dramatically that Cheryl and Linda have figured out a cool way to make it easy for her to put out a book for your state, for every state and elsewhere in the United States and its possessions. And so we're going to have Cheryl describe. We will have her repeat her well-known history because there might be one or maybe two people in the audience who don't know it, but it's good to reemphasize that Cheryl is a valuable contributing person to the UFO community. And if others feel they can do more or do better, they cannot get past starting the UFO desk reference and saying, what can I do better? Because this is a firm start.
Wow, that's quite the lineup. Are you okay, Cheryl? How do you follow that up?
I'm okay. I think that the cool thing we're getting ready to do is I've got really good statistics here that's going to blow your socks off. But what we're in the process of doing is we're going to produce a 50-book series, one for every single state, right down to the zip code and municipal level. People have been asking for it. And if we had done it with the data the way it is, it would have been something on the order of about 2 feet thick, upwards of 13,000 pages. And we couldn't publish a thing like that. And certainly couldn't bind anything over 1,000 pages. So we decided to generate an individual state book. We decided to hook into Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, kind of for their title. So we're like, the first book is called UFOs in Ohio and Where to Find Them. And we span 20 years worth of data, and we printed out by county in the back. We printed out by zip code in the back, and we printed out by county, zip code, municipality, and the shape and what years, 20 years across the page. It's wild. It really is. And we're going to do the 50-book series, and in concert with it, we'll probably squeeze, and it sounds like, hey, this is going to take years. Probably once we get rolling, maybe about a book a week, because we've got a rapid production process developed to put the book up on Amazon. But it took us like a while to do this because the data wasn't as clean as we would like. Back in 2020, we were starting to look forward to doing this. We had to wait to the end of 2020. Of course, we were all locked down, and I started tinkering with it, and I started realizing I knew 3.5% of the data didn't have a city put in. But what I discovered was 7.5% of the data had something messed up with the city. Either the city was spelled wrong, the cases of the lettering was all messed up, or it would say something like Cleveland, Ohio, next to Joe's Bar and Grill. You know, you can't sort on a thing like that. So we put in 850 hours from the second week of August through. It was like going back to work at Lockheed Martin. It really was. I literally was putting in a 35-hour week doing this. And it took 850 hours. I went from the second week of August to the first week of January of 2021 doing this upgrade. But while we were at it, fixing the spelling, we upgraded and fixed the counties. By the way, we're using both MUFON data and National UFO Reporting Center data. So we've got both together. MUFON's about 40%. NUFORC is about 60%. And that's the deal. So we put out our 2020 desk reference, bright pink. This thing is fuchsia. You could flag in an aircraft with it. It's really a bright book. We did it for two reasons. One, there was some talk that we might end up with these congressional hearings at some point because we got the only statistics. And we said, okay, fine. Two reasons. We wanted everybody to know a couple of women produced this book. And two, we wanted it to be up there for congressmen and senators to be peeling through it. And we wanted people to know it was our book, that kind of thing. So that's where we sit. And I've got some incredible numbers to tell you. And I tell you to your audience, you're going to want to write this down. Get a piece of paper, get a pencil or pen that works, and you're going to want to write down some of this stuff to dazzle your friends, because there's some stuff here you won't find anywhere else.
Oh, that's great, Cheryl. That's great.
Bob, can I hop in here for just one quick?
Go for it. Go for it, Dave.
Cheryl, with everything we hear from the government on UFOs over the last couple of years, it's always about the science and technology of everything. We've really seen a real downplay of statistical sightings, of statistical contact, of the experiencers as well, but that's a completely different conversation there. Why is it important for us to continue to look at these statistics to make sure, what's happening in each state of the United States? Because we have been transfixed on technology and propulsion and the military. And it's almost like it's been ingrained in us.
Well, yeah. And the other thing, I've had people coming up to me since hearings started. Now, understand, Senator Rubio got a 5-pound package from me, along with his counterpart in the House Select Intel Committee. They both got 5-pound packages from me back last summer with our pink book. And in Rubio's case, he got an 1.5-inch printout of state of Florida, which happens to be the number 2 state with 11,000 sightings over 20 years. And I printed it out right down to the zip code, all the years, and had it bound over at the office supply place. And we sent them these packages and said, look, real terse cover letter, and said, here's the 3-line summary. If you decide to have congressional hearings, we're the national civilian experts on the numbers. Okay.
Good for you.
And we did the same thing with Congressman Carson. He got a briefing, had a map. I gave him a map of the United States by county, where they were, where they're not, down to the zip code. I printed out his state down to the county, down to the zip code with the numbers on it and everything, and said, where do people you want to talk to? But what are we hearing? I go to my hairdresser and he said, hey, they were talking about 400 UFOs the other day. And I said, yeah, and I got 167,632. What are we missing here, And 400, I got that many just in the state of North Dakota by itself, So this is what bothers me, is just there's this hang up on the idea of the technology. Oh, we got to find out about this technology. And on the first side, they say, well, we got to make sure we don't have a risk to national security. And as a former military person, I get that. On the other hand, what they really want to do is we want to capture one and harvest that technology, is what they're talking about, So, but let me show you how big the scale is. Okay,
please.
20 years of data, 2001 to 2020. Okay. 167,632 reported sightings, both databases together. The National UFO Reporting Center is about 60%, and MUFON's about 40% of that. Okay, it averages out to about 8,000, and this is the United States, 8,400 sightings a year over the 20 years for the country. Okay, it goes as low as 6,200, as much as 14,000, but the average is about 8,400 per year, which translates to about 700 per month, about 161 a week, and about 23 a day. And that 23 a day is pretty freaking solid. I'll take a particular year by itself, and you'll see it hovering in there from about 8 to 28, but the average is about 23. Every now and then, if you look at a bar chart with all the days of 1 year, it'll be going along like this, and every now and then you'll see something spike up tremendously. And I'll go in here and do a breakout. I'll find out what it is. And you find some weird things. Now, something we discovered, and we just wrote a paper on this last week. The title of this paper, and it's going to be in the new state books, is The Mythical UFO Hotspot Does Not Exist. Okay? Now, people say to me all the time, well, Cheryl, there's got to be, Hollywood producers have been coming to us for like UFO documentaries and things. They never use us because we're a couple old gay ladies, okay? Or they come to us and they want to have some sweet young thing spout out our numbers. We tell them where to go with that. But the bottom line, or they don't believe our numbers, but the bottom line is this. The numbers are through the roof. And people say to me, why didn't you go back 40 years? I'll say back to 1960. There's this perception that that from 1960 to 2000 was this golden age of UFOs. So for the 20 book, we didn't put that data in the book, but we did one chart in the front to show people how much there was. From 1960 to 2000, it was an average of about 250 to 300 a year. Okay. And it has the typical 6 to 7 year humpy thing going across the graph. Okay. But 1960 to 2000 added up to 13,156 sightings. Okay. People say, wow, that's a lot. I said, yeah, I've got that many in 2012, 2013, 2014 each year. Okay, so if that was the golden age of UFOs, 2001 to 2020, baby, we're in the platinum age of UFOs in a big way. Let me give you the scale. In the United States, there are 3,135 counties. That number's a little fluid only in the fact that sometimes some states are combining counties. Sometimes there's some big metropolitan areas that decide to be a county by themselves versus just a city. Virginia Beach in Virginia is like that. Okay. Los Angeles County is like that. Okay. So 3,135 counties. Okay. 3,030 counties reported UFOs. 105 counties in the United States did not report UFOs in that 20-year period. Okay, that's a number you won't hear anyplace else. There are 41,692 zip codes in the United States. 18,605 zip codes reported UFOs. I got a beautiful map that I sent to the congressmen and senators of that. Okay. And I've been giving them their own states right down to the zip code level. And the funny thing is it looks like a checkerboard square thing. It's really weird. It does not, they are not where everybody thinks they are. Okay. It's so funny. The other big number here, municipalities in the United States, there are 35,879 municipalities, and that doesn't count locations like Science Bob's campground or something like that. Okay, it counts pretty much incorporated type of organizations and municipalities. 20,348 municipalities reported UFOs. Okay. Try to show, I'm really delighted to be on this program because it's the only place I can tell anybody the truth about this. I have reached out to 24 major newspapers and said, guys, you want the real poop on this stuff? I got all these numbers. I give you here's this little summary, 2-page summary of the numbers. Crickets. I don't know who is holding something over their head, but as a former journalist, I'm saying, guys, we're here to sell newspapers and page views. Why aren't you taking me up on this? Okay. All right. We determined during our research that about 1 in 250 people reports what they see. So if I'm telling you that there's 167,632, get your calculator out and say times 250. That's how big the scale of it is. Okay. Now, if I'm scaring the hell out of you like Orson Welles did, I'm sorry. I apologize. Now, some people come to me, and you guys know this. Some people come to me and they say, "Hey, Cheryl, you did the guy down at the copy center where I was taking samples to get them printed out to inspect." And he would say, "Did you take out all the kooks, nuts, and crackpots?" And I said, "How would I measure that?" Okay. I said, "Why don't we just take off some amount, make you feel what do you want to take, 20 or 30% off the top?" "Well, yeah, that would probably do it." I said, "I'll do you one better. I'll take 70% off the top." MUFON, Dr. Valet, and Cheryl and Linda Costa say about 70%. Dr. Valet says 80% noise. MUFON says 70%, and Cheryl and Linda say 68%. We'll call it 70% is noise. 30% might be the real thing. Okay, fine. 30% of 167,632 is 50,289. That's an average of 210 a month for the 240 months of 20 years. Okay. That's how much traffic, an average of 7 a day, that type of thing. All right. And a yearly average of about 2,500. Okay. That's for the country doing this 30% number. And then the goofy thing about it is people say to me, "Well, Cheryl, these are the people who need to sleep with the nightlight. Trust me," because they come to me and they say, "Oh, Jesus, Cheryl, they got to be rarer than that." Newspaper editors, "Oh, they can't get here from there, And I always say to them, I said, "Look, it took Columbus 3 months to get here." I said, "It took Magellan a year to go around the world. The space station does it every 45 minutes. Come on, guys. Maybe they know something we don't know, Okay, they know how to, yes, show they throw gravitons out of the bottom of the spaceship to kind of repel against the gravitons we got on the planet. Okay, we don't know how to do it. Oh, no, we might know how to do it, but we don't know how to generate the power to do it." Okay.
Hey, so Cheryl, when we come back, I want to talk to you about the APCC, the SCU meet conference, which was last weekend, because we got Eric Davis and all the people in SCU to tell us the truth about some of these statistics, and it makes your number. So we're going to take what they told us and your number, and we're going to make it wild.
Well, this is why we love Science Bob and Friends here on Spaced Out Radio. Dr. Bob McGwier comes in once a month to talk about everything non-woo about the paranormal that goes around the world. Our special guest tonight, statistician, journalist, researcher, author, Cheryl Costa on Spaced Out Radio when we return. All right, we're clear, guys.
Oh, crap. What a great half hour.
Sorry I got on a rant.
Oh, no. That's why you're here. That was awesome. Dave and I had to mute our mics to keep from laughing.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
Very
when
well
we
done.
come back, let me make sure I give that 1% number because it will still blow your socks off.
Yeah. We're gonna let you finish, and then I'm gonna tell what happened at SCU, and we'll get you to comment on it.
Okay.
If I gotta go pee, I'll be back.
Hey, thanks.
I had a really good conversation with Mark Antonio.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we just been at 2 different shows. We did Pine Bush last weekend, and we were in Arkansas about a month ago. So we had a really interesting conversation about some information that's coming out of CERN. Okay. And we're going, oh, and he's telling me this while we're picking up our bags in the airport. And I said, wait a minute. Isn't it going to produce like little mini black holes? It was an interesting conversation and a very interesting bus ride to Eureka Springs.
Yeah. Look, so physics has been stymied by the inability to compute, but machine learning has figured out a way to help us compute things that have never been computable before. Now machine learning, because the machines learn how to compute better than we can do it ourselves. And so what's happening now is ridiculous. It's awesome.
I had somebody a couple of weeks ago say, well, they got everything pretty stable. They understand everything. I said, no, wait a minute. End of the 19th century, they thought they had it all figured out until Heisenberg and his buddies come along with quantum physics in 1920s.
So quantum physics is great, but let me tell you what, dark matter and dark energy, 95% of the universe, we ain't got a freaking clue.
We can talk to that in woo-woo.
Yeah, we will. Then we got to give half hour to magic.
Oh, easy. Okay. I'm almost done with the heavy numbers here, and then we discuss things, and we can go to magic whenever you want.
Okay, great.
The bottom line, I did a show recently with Thin Lizzie Borden.
Yeah.
Okay. And we did the show. We pirated this other guy's program, and he ended up doing a special with just the 2 of us hosting and talking about the viewpoint of our view as witches of the ET and UFO issue, and we had to explain that we already walk on the fantastic side of the street, so it was not hard for us to appreciate what goes on. So it was a lot of fun.
Oh, we love Bree around here. We really do.
Oh yeah, she's a sweetheart.
Oh, I do a show with her anytime, anywhere. She was a lot of fun.
She's a hoot.
Oh yeah. She's great.
Something special we did down in Eureka Springs, Ozarks. Linda, because now she's retired, a couple of months retired now.
Oh, great.
She can't. They had us both come down, and she opened up the presentation for our material by giving a 20-minute talk about the way we applied the science, and where the idea of doing the statistics and the observational science and all this stuff, and blew the audience's socks off, because I had to get up there and say, look, I'm usually the face of this stuff, but this is the brains. I got the top hat and the cane and the arts and entertainment degree, although I've got the old school intelligence gathering using new modern tools to crunch stuff, but I don't generally talk about that.
Yep. Yes, I think we look, the UFO desk reference is a great foundation, and you pulled off all the hard crap to get it going. And I think we ought to talk a little bit about the history. But I know we're here to promote the new stuff, and you've done it, and we're going to do it. But let's give a little history too.
Yeah. There a lot of thought went into that.
I know it is, and we want that history covered so that you and Linda get credit for your hard work.
I'm going to get you guys to hold on right there. We got 20 seconds. I want to say a big thank you to Sally, Cherokee, Big Dog, Linda, and Bob for the amazing super chats tonight. The super chat is a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. Thank you to all the veterans who are tuning on in. We love you around here. You always have a safe home on our chat room. And here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to see you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you have missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with Science Bob and Friends. Dr. Bob McGwier is back for our look at the scientific side of all things strange and weird. Our special guest tonight, author, journalist, researcher, and probably a valedictorian somewhere along the lines because she's just brilliant. Maybe not. I don't know. I just wanted to throw that in. Cheryl Costa is with us tonight, the UFO statistician. There's a nice tight. We're going to put that on the back of a T-shirt. UFO statistician with a big number 1 on there. Bob, Cheryl, welcome back to Space
Out
Radio.
Great to be back, Dave.
Can I talk about the 1%?
Go for it.
Okay. There are these people who come to me and say, well, Cheryl, they got to be much more rare than you're saying with your 30%. And I said, okay, fine. Let's take 99% of the sightings out of the mix. It works out to about 1,676 for the 20 years. Okay. For 240 months, it says about 7. If these are the off-world craft, it's 7 off-world craft in the United States every month for the last 240 months. Okay, which is an average of about 1.75 a week. Okay, so even if they're very rare, they're still showing up. And it's worthy. And I've said to the editors, I made like a little meme card up. And I said, guys, here's the numbers for 1%, this very rare thing. Don't you think this is newsworthy? Crickets. The other big thing we've discovered putting out the last book, the 2001 to 2020. Okay, we've got 2 lists in there now. We've got the drivers, what we've determined to be the drivers about UFO sighting reports, and the influencers for UFO sighting reports. Okay, first thing, the drivers, population. Now, most people will knee-jerk and say, hey, Cheryl, oh, yeah, see that list there? Yeah, it's all concentrated around the major city. Many eyes, it's about population. No, it's not. Okay. We discovered that temperate weather was an issue. If you go up in the northern states of like New England or something like this, New York State, whatever, the yearly loop looks like this. July and August are through the ceiling. Okay, all the rest of the year is this quiescent amount. It's there. It's very measurable. And those are the dog walkers and smokers and the people who are out year in, year out. Okay, but summertime is where things happen. I thought it was like that every place. And when we were doing the first book, Linda was putting it together, and I was making charts so fast I wasn't really looking at them. And then she said, did you notice that the middle level states, that peak comes down and the rest of it comes up? You know, what? Temperate weather was a driver. And you get down to the deep south states, it's statistically flat, except it dips a bit in the summer because it's too hot to be outside. So temperate weather was an issue. We discovered that hours of darkness were a big deal because when we were looking at Alaska, they had that same summer dip, but it's not because it's so hot up there. It's because it's white nights. Okay, it's white all the time. I've worked at those upper latitudes in the summertime. It's white it's light 24 hours a day. So the bottom line was we came up with population, temperate weather, leisure time, hours of darkness, and access to broadband was a driver. Now, we measured that with the first book we did in 2017, 2001 to 2015. We found out that there was a curve as cities were coming online with their suburbs with like cable broadband, things like this. And it was a measurable amount over 6 to 7 years. And I'm retired from the IT industry. I knew what those distribution rates were for broadband in major metropolitan areas. So we were able to track it with that. And then from about 2007, 2008, it's going back to its normal humpy cycle that you would normally see with UFOs. Now, the eye opener here is the influencers for UFO sightings. The principal one is large bodies of water. The top 3 states are California, Florida, Texas. And people say, well, Cheryl, Texas has got twice the population of Florida. Yeah, but they have 1,200 miles of coastline and Texas has 400. Okay. And we've been able to correlate it to that. Now, our friend, I think you've had him on the show, Tom Conwell from Troy, New York. Okay, really good researcher. He gave me these next 2. Proximity. He had this wall. He put a big map on the wall and he was sticking pins in it using our data. Of course, he destroyed the plasterboard underneath the map, But the deal was proximity to toxic ecosystems. ET is extremely interested in our waste fields, our dead oil fields, dead gas fields, our strip mines, burning coal mines. They're really, really interested in our super polluted lakes, super polluted rivers. And what does Ray Hernandez's research tell us? The experiencers come back and said, ETs were pretty cool. And they told us to take care of our planet. This is a consistent story. The other one is a proximity to geological fault lines. They're really interested in our geological fault lines, especially ones like the Madrid one that goes through the central part of the United States. And they're incredibly interested in the caldera around Yellowstone. Finally, we captured one, an influencer that Project Blue Book had. It was one called High Visibility Reports. Now, they framed it in the context of, if we have a sighting report in the newspaper on Wednesday, there's going to be a whole bunch of reports on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and they're copycats. Okay, they want visibility. Well, we found out, especially with National UFO Reporting Center, because it's readily available online. I had seen a spike in 2008, April 16, 2008. There's a spike in Indiana on that particular day. Indiana is a state that averages 2 sightings a week. They had 25 in one day. Something special. About 12 municipalities, neighboring counties, that type of thing. All right. We went out and web searched the articles about that sighting and what went on. But we also followed the news over the next, not so much the news, as much as we started watching National UFO Reporting Center data and started seeing sighting reports in a retro. People read the articles in the paper about the April 16th and say, well, maybe I should report to that New Fork place something I saw 2 months ago or last year. So there's all this retro reporting going on. And that's the high visibility report stimulates people. A lot of people don't even know where to report it. So they read about it in the paper. National UFO Reporting Center is probably the most common one to give them the data. And they say, I should go to them and report my UFO from last year or whatever. The last one is a thing we call the generational effect. You got places like Los Angeles County, which is the number 1 county of 3,135 counties in the United States. They're the number 1 county. They have more sightings over the 20-year period than 38 individual states by themselves.
Wow.
The second county and this is real special, is Maricopa County, the Phoenix area, and they had the Phoenix Lights, 1997. So what we think this generational effect thing is, and before I say that, the hours of darkness, leisure time. People were saying to me, well, leisure time, how can you prove that? Well, actually, we proved it when we went into COVID lockdown, March and April of 2020, when we looked at the data a month later, 2 months later, those 2 months went through the roof, way above their normal amounts. Okay. What did we do? We all sat around watching streaming TV. We ate too much. I put on 30 pounds, drank on the deck, whatever. I've lost all that weight, by the way. The generational effect. Grandpa in LA told us about the Battle of LA in February 1942. Maybe if we look up, we'll see something. Mom and Dad talked about the Phoenix Lights back in 97. If we look up, maybe we'll see something. And that's what this generational effect thing is. Sort of get that a little bit down in the Hudson Valley. They had a lot of stuff in the 70s, but not as much now. But people do report very actively in the Hudson Valley because 20 years ago, they really reported a lot. So maybe if we look up now, we'll see stuff, so that's the deal. Those are the big facts. So I'm open to questions.
Wow, that's great. So look, I wanted to do something, but I'm going to delay it to the beginning of the next segment because all of this fabulous statistics that you've compiled, there was a beginning. Go back to the beginning of the desk reference and tell how you got the beginning, how you got access, kind of the basics of your work. I mean, you don't have to go into every single detail, but I know you've got a narrative. Tell us the narrative of this getting all started and how you got the first book out.
Okay. I had New York State was my beat. I wrote for the Syracuse New Times, a weekly column. And New York State was my beat. So I was always trying to come up with something to report. And people think writing a column is fun. And it is, except for the fact that, remember, it's a 1,000-word essay, term paper type thing due every Thursday, And so there's that issue. So we were always looking for something to report. So I started adding up counties. MUFON collects county data, but they don't, it's dependent upon the person reporting it. So it's 9 times out of 10, it's wrong. New Fork doesn't collect county data at all. So we decided to try and start assigning counties, in the 62 counties in New York State. We started trying to report these counties. And we did. And then we started showing some weird charts that we developed for county presentation type things. This is before we ever published a book. And we showed them to some retired state investigators, state directors, that type of thing. And they're looking at our charts and saying, wait a minute, we didn't know there was a cluster there. We didn't know there was a cluster there either. Where'd this come from? Everybody knew Lake Erie was a hot spot. Nobody knew that Lake Ontario was a hot spot. Okay. Nobody knew the Finger Lakes was a hot spot. Okay. That type of stuff. So we had done this. This is coming through 2015. And Linda and I were sitting in our pub, October of 2015, saying, wow, look at all the cool stuff we had found. And she looks at me and she says, why don't we do the whole country? Yeah, well, God, it might take us a year. It took us 18 months worth of weekends, okay, to do it. And she had the science mind. And she says, nobody's ever done the statistics, not even, and she did some research, not even Project Blue Book did it on the scale we wanted to do it on. So we said, let's do it. And we were getting so paranoid as we were getting within the last 3 or 4 months, we were burning the database and the work we would do on one particular weekend, throw it on a thumb drive, throw it in a manila envelope, put a serial number on it, take it to work and give it to somebody, put it in their desk. We had about 7 copies floating around because we were afraid the house is going to burn down. The Men in Black are going to show up and take our computer. We were paranoid as hell. that someone was going to take this stuff. Okay, so we had all these copies of it at different revision levels, off site. A ex IT security person always store it off site, so that's what we did. And we weren't even sure we were going to do the 2001 to 2020. And a lot of people think we're going to do 5-year updates. No, we're not. This last pink book is the last big reference book we're going to do. And then we're going to produce a series of state books, 50 state books. There are 39 shapes between the two databases, but but only about 27 of them, 28 of them are recognizable shapes. We're going to produce 27, 28 shapes only books, show you every state where they show up and every state where they don't show up. Certain shapes don't show up in certain states. Shapes have seasons. People don't know that either, And I told that to George Anthony, about fell off his chair, So crazy stuff. These numbers have shown us all kinds of stuff. Just makes our eyes dazzle.
Oh, that's fantastic. Dave, you got a question?
Statistically speaking, as you look around and you say that, there is no real official hotspot, we always hear about Sedona, Arizona. And it's not just from Melinda Leslie, who's barking, about everything that's going on there. But we always hear about Sedona. We always hear about other places in New Mexico or the high military areas of Ohio and Nevada. I mean, how do these come into play? Is this just, reputation?
Yes. Or they don't. Give an example. When the first book, the white book, came out, 2001 to 2015, I got hate mail from Nevada, because Nevada was like 25 on the list at that time. Oh, we see them all the time here, Cheryl. I said, do you report them? No, but we see them all the time. I said, if you don't report them, I can't count them. The same thing with Sedona. I've had people out there tell me, oh, we see 200 in a night. I have a hard time believing that. It's probably aircraft traffic, satellites, I mean, I'll buy into that. But I said, if you don't report them, I can't count them. And I get hate mail from the Hudson Valley. Same thing. We see them all the time. But I'll tell you what I use. I use the Hudson Valley. I've got a couple of researchers down there who will pick up the phone and tell me there's a hot thing going on. Okay. Give an example. Remember when the sightings were tanking after 2013? They were going down by 30% a year. 2013, 2014, they were going down, and they hit bottom in the toilet, literally sightings wise, in 2017, 18 time frame. Okay. And I took 2019 off to work on other projects, not non-UFO related, because I knew that this was part of a normal cycle. Everybody's saying, calling me, dropping me email at the newspaper. Oh, Cheryl, Space Force chased them away, and this chased them away, or they ran out of grant money, whatever. I heard everything. And I kept telling people they'll be back. And in 2018, we saw a little tick up, just a tiny little tick down there at the bottom of where they were bottoming out for MUFON. And then, March 2020, just before we got locked down, I got a phone call from George Knapp. He says, my phones are ringing off the hook. Are you seeing anything? No, I'm not, but I'll check. Now, by this time, I had already built a mathematical model. So I pulled 2 months worth of National UFO Reporting Center, since it's readily available online, dropped those numbers into the model, and I got a projection of what it was going to be. I called him back a half hour later and said, hey, George, it's going to be, if this keeps up, it's going to be the best year since 2012. And it was.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so I went to the SCU conference last weekend at the Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, Alabama, and it was a terrific show. But so I'm going to concentrate on a couple of things, but right now I want to talk about one set of remarks that was made by Dr. Eric Davis. And it wasn't him poo-poo in the Wilson docks. It was pretty awesome. He said that during NIDS and following NIDS, where he was working for OSAP, etc., under contract, that they decided to run an experiment. So they knew that there was this UFO data distribution from your book, etc., and other people that done stuff before, and they had looked at this stuff. Okay, and so they decided to run the following experiment. They got a map of the United States, they put it on the wall, they got a box of darts and threw them. And wherever the darts hit, they went and did a high dollar, detailed interview process and talked to people and so forth. And they were shocked to find that within about 20 or 30%, somewhere around there, they don't have enough to be 5 sigma, but close. Let's say close. The distribution, when you dig down deep and spend money, was within a factor of 2. It was uniform across the entire country. When Cheryl says, people, get up off your couch, get your hand out of your ear and wherever you might have your thumb, and report what you see, because this is a big deal. You cannot do reliable statistical analysis with pitted, dotted, blank spots in the data. What Cheryl and Linda have done is a good job with the data they had available, but they did not have the necessary tools to go back and do the kind of sampling and analysis and data collection that the multi-million-dollar OSAP people had to do the work. And so, but this tells us that your 1% number, guess what it is? I mean, it's freaking huge. These things are everywhere. And so between what you've done with the culling you've done and the shaping of it, with now taking where you've got, let's integrate over your area. Now let's spread that out over the entire United States. Even where there was a low distribution, we can now flatten it and elevate it. And the numbers, Cheryl, they are outrageous. No one will believe you if you told them these numbers. Yeah. It's just really unbelievable.
Can't get in the door to show them. They won't talk to us.
You can't. We got to get into Congress and talk to the right people. So that's number one. And finally, before we go to break, I met a person who works for the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. I had a detailed conversation. He was interested in talking to me for reasons not directly related to UFOs, but we were both at a UFO conference. And his title, I won't name him because I don't want to, whatever, but his title was the Deputy Director for the UAP team from the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency assigned to the United States Space Force. NGA has a UFO team working at Space Force. To me, that is blockbuster news, and it's broken right here, and it should be everywhere.
Holy cow. Yeah. I wonder if that's who Elizondo is teamed up with.
I don't know the answer, but we can find out because we can ask him, do you know this person? I'm sure he does.
By the way, just so you guys know, I was talking to Lou the other day, and he told me when Daniel Sheehan released accidentally that Lou has been contracting to Space Force. Space Force has had 155 inquiries of access to information to try all on Luis Elizondo to try and find out information.
Oh, I bet. John Greenwald was there the next microsecond.
Oh, you got that right. Science Bob and Friends is 1 hour down. We got 1 hour to go. Dirty Filth is continuing his beautiful art. Our special guest, Cheryl Costa, absolutely tearing up the UFO field with her statistics tonight. And we got it back. And your questions in hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio right after this.
Rowdy show, huh?
This is fun. Oh, this is so much fun. Oh my God, Filth, I love you, buddy.
Oh yeah, yeah. He does it. He does it.
Thanks, guys, Bob. I got to plug everything. I got to go feed the cats some snacks. I'll be right back.
I'll be right back, guys.
Bob, something I wanted to tell you. So we
Yep.
can say this on this break. The hours of darkness thing. Some people have said to me, "So what good is that?" It's what we've also proven, and pretty consistently. Say, like we'll take Cuyahoga County in Ohio, downtown Cleveland. You see all the sightings over 20 years. There's a certain amount every year. Okay. And during the peak years, a lot more than others. Okay. But we said the majority of the stuff in our hours of darkness thing, 60 to 70% of the sightings happen between 6 o'clock at night and about 11 o'clock at night, with the peak being 8 o'clock to 10:30. Okay. And last dog, last smoke, last walk the dog, last smoke out there in the deck, a nightcap drink with mom, that type of thing. So now that we got it down to we've got the zip code information in the database. We were able to run a report of all the zip codes in a particular county. And if you've got a major county seat, you'll see that nice big string of sightings that everybody wants to knee jerk and say, hey, it's population. And then you look at there's almost nothing out there in the suburbs, the bedroom communities, the unincorporated little housing developments and communities, and the fringe rural communities. But during those 6 o'clock to 11 o'clock hours, you see a little peak. You add them all up in that county, and they actually total up, in most cases, not every case, but in most cases, they total up more than that major county seat sightings. So the majority of the stuff does happen in the evening hours.
Yep. And, just having lived in one of these outside of a city in the woods, like I do now, it's a regular thing to drive into the city in the evening hours to do stuff. So it's a regular thing for people who live in rural areas to drive into town to do grocery shopping or have a beer with the boys and girls and whatever they're going to do in town. That is not unusual. So they're not in their communities, or they're inside watching TV or whatever. So these factors are not easy to do, but they need to be mentioned, and we're going to need to figure this out. And we also need better data collection tools. And so between UFO DAP and Sky 360, we're going to get new tools, but they're going to be like $1,000. So we need and the prices are falling, but now they flattened out because of all the electronic shortages. So I'm hoping that the overall trend returns to electronics getting more complex and cheaper, so that we really get a ton of data that's really uniform over the country. So it'll be cool. I'm going to need to take a break, and I'll be right back.
What you got to do? off the record relief, restore belief. I agree with you. I don't know if people will take the abductees seriously, but I agree with you. Okay. I'll save it for the air, but I hope they will be taken seriously. I really do.
I got a bunch of questions already from the audience for you, Cheryl.
Yeah. I saw some good ones in there. Yeah.
Oren, welcome back to the show. Steam Train Mark, thanks for letting me know that I'm live tomorrow since you live in the future. Appreciate that. We got about 45 seconds.
Okay. M. Bison, forgive me, wants to know what is Cheryl's background. I'm happy to talk to that.
Yeah. Jonathan Davies, good morning. I want to say a thank you to Bob, Linda, Big Dog, Cherokee, and Sally for the super chats tonight. Really appreciate it. And it's a good way to show thank you to all the veterans out there who are hanging on out with us tonight. Here we go with hour 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Saponify. Saponify is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Science Bob and Friends as Dr. Bob McGwier is back with Cheryl Costa tonight as our special guest, breaking down everything to do with UFOs and the statistics that go along with them. We appreciate you coming on in, Bob, as per usual.
Oh, it's great to be here.
So my question to kick things off is we got a few questions from our audience. Let's start off with YJ Overlander, good BC boy, so we got to start off with him. He's asking, Cheryl, what is the bigger picture view of what is actually going on? Why are aliens here?
Well, okay, they've been with us since before biblical times. Okay, there's a lot of evidence to that. There's an island in northern China in the middle of a lake up there, and NASA reported this. In fact, it was in the Physics 370 book at the Air Force Academy in the 60s and early 70s. There's a monument there that has a carving of somebody that looks like they've got some kind of a breathing apparatus on. Okay. And it's estimated to be 40,000 years old. So they've been with us for a long time. When they really got interested in us, you can pretty much track it back to us lighting off 3 nukes back in 1945. Okay. In 1947, we had the UFO wave. Okay. And basically, you have to kind of look at it from the standpoint of the natives have a box of matches. That's the way you have to look at it. The dunderheads, us, are playing with something very, very volatile. And the ET has supposedly been very, very sensitive to the fact that we're playing with nuclear weapons that could nuke this planet morbid and that type of thing and kill all life on this precious blue world. So that's pretty much the issue, that they are very concerned about the fact that we're wasting our planet. We've got so many polluted areas and so many wasted areas. So that seems to be their driving issue. In fact, why suddenly now in the 20th century, since like 2004, like Nimitz started seeing this stuff and all that type of thing, I think we're hitting the tipping point with the ecology, and I think they're pushing the issue personally.
The aliens pushing the issue.
Yes. If they make it so uncomfortable, the government has to own up to the rest of us what's going on. They don't. Apparently, ET doesn't care about the fun and games and intrigues our government plays. They don't seem to be too impressed with that. Especially, I've talked to some experiencers who have expressed that to me.
May I please add to this question, though, is how is this affected by the military-industrial complex? Because, look, your disclosure, my disclosure, Bob's disclosure, anybody who's listening to this, their personal disclosure is going to be so different than what the United States government and military is actually going to allow. So how does this play out with the military-industrial complex that we've been in for the last 70 years?
That's a complicated one. Okay, if you go back to 70 years, okay, Orson Welles scared the snot out of the country in 1938. Okay, so here we have, let's assume Roswell was a real event. Okay, you've got people that say, oh, 7 or 8 years ago, Orson Welles scared the hell out of a country, and we've got a real thing sitting here. We've got to be careful with this. Okay. And of course, then also we just came out of a war, and we're getting to be in a testy situation with the Soviets at that time. So the idea is just sit on the technology, ship it all up to Wright-Patterson, and let the foreign technology people take a look at it. Maybe there's something we can glean from this technology. And there's even people who have said maybe the Germans actually got some of the technology from ET as well. You know, so who knows? But as far as the industrial complex, they see dollar signs in there to advance whatever their technologies are. Okay. Doesn't matter if it's coming from whoever.
Let's go to Scott here, who is asking, why do we care about the government telling us this is real? Okay.
The government's been telling us that these things are real for years. But the book I wrote, a collection of all my 238 newspaper columns for the 7 years I wrote the column. There's one whole page in there in the preface that's all of these government officials who have said this stuff, right down to Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon, saying this stuff is real. Okay. But there's some people that have to have it blessed by an authority figure. Okay, they want to have President Biden get up there with the heads of Congress and say on CNN and say this stuff is real, and here's Mr. Kazumba from the planet such and such. That's what they really want. Okay, they need somebody they trust to verify it. But these days, even if he did get up there and do it, there's a whole crowd of there's 20% of the population is going to say fake news. So what can you say?
Very true. All
now,
right.
Let me throw a stat in there.
Okay.
2 polls, Fox Pictures back in July of 2017, and later Gallup in September of 2019. They threw an extra question than the usual stuff: who believes, who doesn't, who thinks it's crap, and they had this one that said, have you seen a UFO? Okay. And both polls came back with the 16% and change. I think it was 16.74 with one and 16.5 something or other for another. So when we saw that second one with Gallup, we said, let's run with the 16% number and come up with the sightings. We did it by every single state and their adult population. okay, which is what this was supposed to be. And then the average of the bell curve, as low as 1 in 150 people. On the far end of the bell curve, 1 in 475 people. And the top of the curve was 1 in about 250 to 258, something like that. Reports what they see based on the sighting reports.
Bob, I got a ton of questions here from the audience, so I'm just going to
Do
run
it.
with this.
Do it.
All
Go
right.
for it.
Super Knower would like to know, Cheryl, do we know for sure what makes a hotspot a hotspot?
Yes. Okay. I've identified 750 hotspots of 4 sightings or more in one day. Okay. Now, people might say, well, there's got to be someplace. Okay. Write this down. Zip code 85001 is the hottest sighting zip code in the country, and it's downtown Phoenix, Arizona. Okay. 1,376 sightings in 20 years. But think about this a minute. It only averaged out to 5 or 6 a month. So if you're planning a UFO sighting party, you're going to be paying a lot of money for hotel rooms because they only get 5 or 6 a month. And then the next closest one was Las Vegas, and they had half that number. They had a number around 700, and it gets down to like 1 or 2 a week. So, but the way I calculated it was there's 7,303 days, and it's including the leap years over the 20-year period. Okay. If you count all 50 states, it's 146,060 days between all 50 states and the 20 years. Okay. In that space of time, if you look at a plot from 2001 to 2020, most of it is empty. The graph is empty for any one zip code or any one county. And you see, if there are sightings, there's onesie twosies. That's it. An occasional 3. But 4 became statistically significant, 4 and above. And I've identified across all 50 states about 756 event days out of that whole 146,060 days that had something 4 or more. We're talking 4, maybe upwards of 20 or 30 in a particular day, but they're not a regular hotspot. And that's what people say is the hotspot, someplace where you can set your clock by it or something like that, or your bus station type schedule. It's not like that. They have one unusual thing that went down one particular day, and that's what I call the freak hotspots. I've been trying to get a couple of television producers, Hollywood producers, to say, "Hey, let's do a road show. Let's go around to some of these places and advertise for people. Did you report a UFO on this day? We want to talk to you." That type of thing. And they keep laughing me off the phone. So.
Well, let's go to George here. Why would the government disclose now instead of 1977, for example?
Is that one for me?
Yeah. Well, I think all of us can answer this.
Why now? Like I said, I think they can't deny it anymore because the military the military had sightings before, but it got leaked. It was out. I talked to some of those Nimitz sailors at MegaCon a couple of years ago, and some of those guys almost lost their marriages over it because they were sworn to secrecy, and they had been up in combat information looking at all this stuff and tracking it. Particularly the radar ship for the fleet was tracking this stuff, and they're going, "Oh my God, this stuff is real." Okay. Our pilots are reporting it. Oh my God. And they couldn't go home and tell their families. So their families are saying, you're holding something up. Okay. Who is she? That kind of stuff, And so it became an issue. None of the intelligence agencies, and there's a whole bunch of little intelligence agencies within the Pentagon and all that kind of thing, had any of those craft that like the Nimitz saw and some of those other ships saw, had anything that suggested China or Russia, they would have been all over it. But because it got labeled a UFO, Nobody wanted the stigma. None of the intelligence agencies stepped up to it, except finally naval intelligence, because it was their pilots that were reporting this stuff, stepped up to it just before the task force thing came about. So my hat's off to Navy intelligence for having the balls to go out there and finally get past the stigma.
All right, let's continue on with some audience questions. Let's go to Vinny in Manitoba. He is asking, Cheryl, are the stats you stated based by a UFO event, example, Phoenix Lights, or by reports submitted? One event seen by thousands would seem to skew the data.
Yeah, that is a problem. This is where I get hate mail from, like down in Hudson Valley. Our data is 2001 to 2020. Okay. Now, if I look at a sighting in a particular area that had some kind of a big spike and everybody's reporting it. Now, I'll give you a good example. There was a missile launch from Chicoteague down in Southern Virginia a couple of years ago, 2008 actually, and half the East Coast reported cone-shaped UFOs, right? But I was able to track it back to this one event. And so, you have to balance that out. It does skew the data because you get this thing, 1,000 people reporting the same sighting. But I'll tell you something. I've had 8 people report the same sighting, and I got circle, square, triangle, cigar shaped, but they were all reporting the same sighting. So ask any cop, they'll tell you 20 people didn't see the same thing at the crime scene.
Okay, let's go to another question here. This one from Oren. Is it possible that UFOs are appearing between the hours of 6 and 11 p.m. due to interference and diffraction?
No.
Nope.
Now, why no? Why such a hard no on that?
I say hard no because it keeps coming down to when you go in and look at how to say this. There's just this consistent curve. Every single state, every single shape has that curve that 25% of the sightings are between 1 o'clock in the morning up to about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and the other 68 to 75%, this little pitch up during the evening hours. Okay, that's it. The only logical solution there was hours of darkness and leisure time.
All right, let's go to Jonathan in the UK. Good morning, Jonathan. Why are we still calling them aliens and ET? They are here and have always been here. They may have even created us. This may be not even our planet. The others feel right. What's your opinion on this, Cheryl?
Actually, in my column, I started back from about 2014 on. I started calling them off-worlders. In fact, I had to struggle with my editors about it. I said, I don't think we should be calling them aliens. They're off-worlders. They're not from here. Okay. So, and the off-worlder also kind of covered the category of, are they interdimensionals? Are they time travelers? Are they this? Are they that? That was kind of a nice term. I don't like the term alien personally.
All right. Let's go to another question from Oren again. How many also correlate to paranormal activity in the same area? I love this question.
We don't have a way easily to measure it to paranormal activity. Okay, we just don't. There's no database. I'll give an example. I tried to do some work with livestock mutilation. Okay, in our first book, we figured out. Actually, we proved it in our second book that the 37th parallel is not the UFO superhighway as was reported in 2016 in a couple of books. Okay. Now, and we say that because they also came back and said, but there was paranormal activity. I had my intern sit down and we did a very specific search on the web for a very specific set of words. And basically every single state in the country has paranormal activity. They all have they all have haunted churches, haunted schools, haunted insane asylums, and haunted prisons. Okay, it was all like that. You know, you couldn't swing a cat without hitting that. The next thing you ran up against was people were saying, well, livestock mutilation. They were trying to make it, the perception in the news is it all happens out west in the big farming countries. I did a chart on Kansas, okay, because I got an art. Somebody gave me a feature article written in a agriculture magazine about problems they were having in Kansas, and I plotted it on my map. And most of the counties in Kansas were onesie twosies, except, oh, by the way, the particular counties where these livestock mutilations happened. But my intern sat there and searched for livestock mutilation, and all 50 states have it. And that's something most people don't know. They all think it happens in Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas, and it's not the case. Every state has livestock mutilation.
All right. So Juan wants to know, Science Bob, how was your experience at the SCU?
Oh, it was terrific. So there's lots and lots of people there, lots of people, things to talk about. It's going to take more than a few minutes, and I don't want to detract from Cheryl's show. So why don't we schedule a special show totally dedicated to SCU?
We'll do that next month with you, for
That'll
sure.
be great. That'll
Hey,
be great.
get Rich Hoffman on with you.
Yeah, well, I'll call up Rich and maybe Robert and see if they want to come on.
Absolutely. I know Robert had a good time last time here. So, I mean, there's a good chance he'll come back. Felipe would like to know, Cheryl, do you keep track of sightings worldwide? Latin America has some big hotspots.
Yeah, they do. The problem is some of those countries don't have collection agencies for like New Fork or MUFON to collect the data. I started trying to do one. I reached out during the period between 2015 and 2020. I did reach out to some people through Facebook in a couple of cases to find out, see if I could identify collection agencies in different countries in Europe. And it was problematic. Some places wouldn't talk to me. Some places that did said, but we don't have the resources to translate everything for you into English, that type of thing. Okay. And I certainly didn't have funding or a staff of 10 people to hire like a linguist to sit there and translate the stuff in the database for us. You know, it would have been nice. A lot of people have said I should have a budget for this. Right now, it's the pensions of 2 retired old ladies that is paying for all this.
All right. Logan would like to know, as we got about just over 90 seconds left, is there any connection, Cheryl, between your data and the missing 411 locations?
We've never looked those up, and likewise, I have the street address and zip code of every single nuclear power plant in the country. There's 55 of them, and we've run the data against those, and they don't seem to be hotspots. Okay, they just don't.
I would ask
military bases, and I got this from Lou Alessandro, military bases that have nuclear weapons on it's stored there. Yeah, they're hotspots, but the nuclear power plants, either they're not being reported or they're just not happening there.
Have any of you heard, as we get ready to go to break here, about when the next set of hearings are going to happen? We keep hearing a few within the next few weeks, but nothing more specific than that. Bob, have you heard anything?
No.
I listened for Steve Bassett to whisper in my ear, and he said no. He hasn't said anything yet, but he says they're coming, and it might be a blockbuster. But on the other thing, the other day he commented his old line, "It's no longer about lights in the sky; it's about lies on the ground." So I think we're getting fed a line by people.
Right on. Dirty Filth, have you heard anything about the next set of hearings?
Tune in next week.
All right, there we go. We have Science Bob and friends for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. And, of course, our special guest tonight, veteran, journalist, statistician, researcher, Cheryl Costa. We got her for another half an hour here as well as we look into the statistics of UFOs, maybe even sprinkle in a little magic coming on up. Then in hour 3, Swamp Dweller is back with another spooky story. Fedora John with the Unbiased UFO Report. Holy cow, do we have a busy night left on Spaced Out Radio right after this.
I think you own a time machine, Dave, because that was pretty quick 30 minutes.
That totally was.
Yep, we got to get Cheryl's magic and that stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there was a guy.
Or Alan Greenfield will disown us.
Now, the people in the chat room, they can still hear us, can't they?
Yeah.
Yes, they
Okay.
can.
There was a guy in there, Bison was the last name of it, initial and a Bison. He asked me, what's my qualifications? I did analysis work in the Navy. I was a signals analysis person on a nuclear submarine back in the days when I was a boy. And I did that sort of work for a number of years, and it was very sophisticated work. It fringed in the intelligence business, that type of thing. And that's as much as I can say about that. Later, working for Lockheed Martin, I had a number of tasks over 32 years for Lockheed Martin, but the last 20 years, I was very deeply involved with an analysis of like firewall data. So I was used to working with large amounts of data, looking for the needle in the proverbial haystack of the proverbial hacker, that type of thing. And that's kind of where I developed a lot of good skill and detective skills for going in there and finding that needle in the haystack and in a sea of data, that type of thing. That's what my background is. And I just have a genuine interest in UFOs since I was a kid. Just couldn't do anything about it.
So Cheryl's statistical, Cheryl and Linda's statistical work is not like theoretical out there bleeding edge theory of statistics. They're taking hard work and learning the statistical methods through work and practice and so forth, and sticking with it until they got reasonable results. If other people were as unlazy as Cheryl and Linda, they could do some of this, but it takes dogged determination and willingness to learn.
I'm doing about. I'm retired. I should be doing something else. I've got other things I would like to be doing. I put in about a 35 hour week.
Yep.
Just working on this stuff. And when I said a certain piece of stuff in the beginning of the program, this was new stuff, this new paper about these things. It took me 3 weeks of those 30-hour days or 30-hour weeks to come up with this thing about the hotspot. Okay. I did nothing but focus on the hotspot problem, and I developed a way of reporting it to find those 175 event days in 146,060 days, spanning 20 years. So there was a lot of goofy stuff going on there. I have had a number of what I'm going to call bona fide day in, day out statisticians come up to me at UFO conferences and tell us, me and Linda, to our face, you guys have done a brilliant job.
Right on. Right the hell on.
Yep.
All right. We got about just over 90 seconds, guys. What a great show tonight.
Yes, good.
But I can't get any colleges to let me come and give a presentation. I've offered for free. I've reached out to the psych department, the physics department, the philosophy and the social sciences people at 13 of New York State's SUNY University colleges. Crickets. Although State University of New York at Albany has taken 45 crates of my material.
Hey,
They've
Bob,
they've got my papers.
we got about a minute left. We still have a number of questions from our audience. How do you want to run this? Do you want to go through the questions?
I want Cheryl to talk about magic and then end it with those questions.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll start out with a little magic. We'll go about till about quarter to 10 to on magic, and then we'll get to more audience questions. I'll just start highlighting them as I see them. Okay.
Here's a way to frame it: card carrying witch. What does this do for me as far as like a researcher for UFOs? And like I said, me and Thin Lizzie Borden and I did a real talk on this a couple of weeks ago.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
All right, 10 seconds. Thank you to Sally, YJ, Cherokee, Big Dog, Linda, and Bob for the super chats. Really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who's given us a thumbs up tonight. Here we go. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for tuning us in. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, Science Bob and Friends, Dr. Bob McGwier is here with us with special guest tonight, author, researcher, and UFO statistician, Cheryl Costa. Bob, take it away.
Okay, so Cheryl, you recently moved to Ohio, and this is my own ignorance, I was unaware of your interest in and practice of magic. So tell us a little bit about that, how it interacts, if any way, with your UFO work, and just tell us about how you got into it and quickly the influences.
Okay, when I was to really go far back, on the maternal side of my family, clairvoyance runs down the maternal side of the family. Okay. So it was something as a teenager made me a little crazy that I saw a different world than my friends did, And so I got a lot of books in the library, and I read everything that was available. And in those days, it was very primitive to what we have these days. Okay. So when I got in the Navy, by the time I got to junior and high school, I had been in Catholic school for X number of years at that point. And by the time I got to being a junior in high school, I said, the world is set up differently than you're teaching. And I left the faith. Okay. I said, it's not, things aren't the way you say they are. Okay. So, and what a quick example of that. Joe's dad who passed away 3 weeks ago. He's in heaven, Susie, with God, right? Well, I was sitting there looking at Joe's daddy, Susie's daddy, sitting on the file cabinet, looking proudly at his daughter. Okay, gives you an idea. So those of us in the family who embraced the gift, most of the family did not, but those of us in the family who embraced the gift, to use a line from Twilight Zone, we walk with 1 foot on Main Street and 1 foot in the Twilight Zone. All right. So I was in the Navy. This is 76. I won't even go into the Vietnam stuff. I will go into Vietnam stuff. It was noticed whenever I went down, I grabbed my helmet and a 6-pack of Cokes and went down into the bunker, the barracks emptied out because I knew what was coming, that kind of thing. There's that. Okay. In the Navy, I had a shipmate who was Wicca. Him and I used to spend a lot of time in the laundry room of the ship where nobody could hear us over the sound of the dryers and wash machines talking about Wicca. So I've been a Wicca practitioner for 44 years. I've practicing priestess for 30 years of that. Okay. And I've had over 300 students in that period of time. Okay. Trained them. And in our tradition, at least the one I was initiated in, there was an expectation that when you got to that retirement age, and I formally retired in December of 2021, when you retire from a life in the craft, there's an expectation that you'll write a book about your life in magic. Some people write a book of spells. Some people write a management book, how to manage covens and that type of thing. Some people just write a memoir of their life in magic. And I decided to tackle magical mechanics. So I wrote a book called Magical Musings of a Rogue Witch, available on Amazon. If you go in the book search and say Witchcraft Costa, you'll find it. And it's only a very small book, but what I did was I went into the physics of magic, stripped away all the gobbledygook and all the woo stuff, and basically tell you very straight, this is what we're doing with magic. This is how it works. Okay. And it was purely a magical mechanics and physics book. And I thought my peers would hate it. If you read the blurbs on the back, they loved it, the way it should be taught. Okay. So now a witch being in UFOlogy. Okay. Me and Thin Lizzie Borden. What's her proper name here? Okay. She and I were on another show recently as Women in UFOs, and they realized we were witches. In fact, we were on this Women in UFOs, and like 6 people on the panel, 4 of us were witches. So what edge did that give us? It gave us the fact that we're used to walking in the fantastically strange. And to quote Werner Heisenberg, the universe is stranger than you think and stranger than you can think. Okay. And that should be a mantra for anybody studying craft, because the universe, the world we see is a construct, and the construct, what magic is the construct can be bent. It can be nudged. It can be dimpled. And that's what the practice of magic does. Okay. So that's basically witchcraft in a nutshell. In terms of witchcraft and UFOs, a well-trained witch is used to the idea, especially when the whole topic a couple of years ago, Bob, the topic come up that people started talking about consciousness and UFOs. Mm-hmm. Okay. In fact, I think it was Grant Cameron had me on his show one night, and he went into that in the last half hour. And I said, okay. And I came out of the closet as a witch and UFOs, and said, okay, here's how this all works. And yes, there's something to this consciousness. Not every single UFO is a tin can with some technology. Some of it, I believe, and from my own experience, will testify to you, some of the UFO material we're seeing out there are metaphysical manifestations. And that's why 6 people might look at the same thing and see something different. Okay. Because our eyes perceive, but our brain processes. So that's the deal. So, if you talk to the CE5 people, yes, you can reach out and touch someone. Yep. You can reach out and touch them. Go ahead.
As a lifelong scientist and something of a skeptic about this, I recently had an interaction with someone who worked with me for a small amount of time, handed me a pendulum, and told me things to do. First try. Yep. First freaking try. Okay, Dave, it's time for the audience questions before they blow us up.
Yep.
Absolutely. Go. Let's get right to them. Jonathan Davies is asking, have you looked into areas with strong magnetic anomalies, Hudson Valley or Swansea in the UK, UFO capital, or areas with uranium mines?
You're going to hate my answer. Just because you want a statistic doesn't mean one exists. Okay. I have people asking me that question all the time. I had somebody ask me over the weekend. They wanted to know if we could track it against cloud phenomena or magnetic anomalies, that type of thing. I hear that all the time. There's two of us. We're two old ladies. Okay. We're both retired, and I don't have a staff of 20 people. And Rich Hoffman, serious investigator, the guy that runs the SCU, said we should have a staff of 20 people supporting us with a budget because of the work we do. Okay. So no, we haven't lined it up there. I've had people asking me if I could put it against temperature maps on the ground. That stuff is available, against thunderstorms. We've had all those requests. I focus on the UFO data and not the correlations to other things right now. And by the way, there's a motto. We have a poster in our workroom that says correlation does not necessarily equal causality.
Sounds good. Let's move on to another question here from Superknower. Do you have an NDA?
Do I have an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement? Who with? You mean like with the government or something?
Going back to your time with the government, I would assume.
I have security oaths. And the one thing when you work in the intelligence gathering business, you're going to take that. Once you're out of the business, it doesn't matter what your duties are. I don't no longer do those duties, but I'm in the business until the day I die. Okay. Lou Elizondo cannot violate his security oath, and I cannot violate my security oath. That's all.
All right. Let's go to Oren. While in the Navy, did you ever come across any sea monster intel?
No.
I bet you
Simple
wish you
as
would.
that. No.
Bet you wish you would.
Nah. I was in submarines. You don't see any. There's no window in nuclear submarines.
All right. Impish Sun Bunny is asking, have there been UFO highways identified with the work that you've done, Cheryl?
Okay, the 37th parallel was in a 2016 book as the UFO superhighway. There are 12 other latitudes that have far more sightings than in fact, the 37th picked up most of its UFO numbers by going to, we did a plot, a county by county that went through the 37th parallel. We loosely knew about it in 2016 when we were working on the other book, but we didn't have time to sit down and look at it. Okay. Plus our database did not have latitude and longitude information, but our sense was it was going to go through the industrialized Northeast through the Great Lakes. And it's pretty much what it did. 37th parallel picked up the majority of its sightings going through a couple of major cities. You would think a superhighway would be kind of filled all the time like an interstate, and the 37th wasn't. The 33rd latitude, 33rd thing, I'll lend some credence there because it had far more sightings than the 37th.
Logan is wondering, can anybody do magic?
Anybody can do magic if they learn how to quiet their mind. It's not about mixing up a whole bunch of potion and chanting some mystical words over it. That makes for great Hollywood, but that's not how it works. You have to learn to meditate to do this. Okay, if you buy my book, that's what I start talking about in the book. You have to learn how to clear your mind and meditate. I went into midlife. I spent 7 years in a Buddhist monastery, buzz cut, dressed like the Dalai Lama every day. I was a ordained Buddhist nun. I'm an ordained yogi now. Okay. And I learned aspects of magic there that it keeps coming back to this place we live in. Reality we live in is a construct. It's flexible and it can be bent and nudged and twisted, and causes can be changed. It's as much as I can say. If you want to learn it, buy my book, start learning to meditate. I talk a lot about it in there, and eventually you'll do it. But it's not something you do overnight. It will take many months, sometimes years to do.
I really like this question from Oren, sticking with the magic for a moment. Do UFOs react to magic?
Yes. Yes. Actually, if you think of magic in the terms of like the CE5 people literally meditating themselves down and calling out with their minds and inviting them here, sending them messages of joy and welcome. Yeah, that's magic. And by the way, that's what they did. And these things show up. Sometimes crafts show up. Sometimes interdimensional mystical beings show up. A lot of different things happen. And anybody who's worked in magical circles have seen magical beings show up.
Felipe would like to know, do you have any data on submerged UFO bases?
None whatsoever. And it would probably, if I did, it would probably be classified and I wouldn't be able to talk about it.
All right, Jonathan.
Well, let me qualify that. There's a base on the backside of the moon. I used to teach remote viewing classes, 5 different classes over 20 years, and every one of them went there. And when they were done with the session, they would before we started doing analysis, they would say, "Wow, wherever you sent us, they didn't want us there." Okay. Are USOs tracked? None of that. USOs are not showing up in MUFON or NUFORC databases. Okay, I did look for that, but there aren't any. I get that question a lot.
Should we be paying more attention to UFOs, UAP, going and using our waterways as potential hiding spots?
Yeah, we should really. We really should.
Yeah, because they can interfere with ship traffic, and I will go into no details, but our undersea sensors, but basically they're the largest collection of microphones in the world. So but that's all the details I'll go into.
I can't talk about that either. I know what you're talking about. The bottom line is give an example. In New York State, 75% of the sightings in New York State were up the Hudson and down the St. Lawrence Seaway across Lake Ontario down into Lake Erie and in the Finger Lakes area. It was a cumulative type number, but it was like 75% of the sightings in the state. And if you look at our book, because we do a census map. If you get one of our books and look at the census map and the thing, if you look at the Great Lakes, the sightings are in the many thousands of sightings for every state touching the Great Lakes. Move 2 states away and it's in the low hundreds.
Unbelievable. All right, let us continue here on Spaced Out Radio as we are taking, audience questions right now. And let's see here. I like Impish Sun Buddy's comment here. It's all connected. Magic, Yoda, or yoga. Yoda. Gee, where did Yoda come from? Yoga and UFOs. But realistically, that is a very true comment, Cheryl.
Yes, it is.
The one thing that is coming out of everything behind the scenes of the government, and Bob and I have talked about this privately, is there are many people and names that everybody would know that are literally saying, look, UFOs, UAP aren't just their own entity. This is all part of one phenomena, Cheryl.
Oh, it is. It is. You can't stovepipe it with the paranormal this and the UFOs that and something else, Bigfoot this. You can't stovepipe it. They're all related to each other. Let me say it in which terms. We are connected to this is going to sound like Yoda. Okay, George Lucas got it right. We are connected. The atoms in our body are connected to everything, everywhere, every when. When I make an offering prayer, I make an offering prayer for all beings, everywhere, every when, because we're connected. If I look at Bob and he looks back at me, you've got 2 instances of the great consciousness looking at itself.
Yep. The consciousness, there are a lot of physicists, and me as an applied mathematician working at a very high level, that have some inkling that consciousness is fundamental to all of our universe. It's the fundamental bedrock. And there's cognitive scientists, like everybody knows Daniel Hoffman. Not everybody knows what he does, but including in his work is consciousness is fundamental.
One more thing along with that, the same concept. You hear people talk about, especially in quantum physics, something you observe it and it changes. Okay, that's a principle in magic. We have that something very similar to that, because things can sometimes just the idea of thinking about that thing makes it happen or changes the circumstance. So yeah, it's a very real phenomena. Is there tunnels between U.S. and Canada? I have no idea.
Oh, for the drug runners, yes. But I'm thinking government alien tunnels, dumbs.
I have no idea.
When I discovered that Monroe County, New York, essentially the Rochester, New York area on the Lake Ontario, had a huge amount. It's almost as many sightings as Lake Erie area. I did some research, and there's some stuff out of Canada that I was able to find that talked about the people in the 19th century were convinced there was a civilization that lived underneath Lake Ontario. Who knows?
They're Maple Leaf fans. They don't know what the hell's going on over there, Cheryl. They really don't. No offense to our listeners in Mississauga, Ontario right now, or the beautiful province of Ontario, but if you're a Leaf fan, 67 people. 67. That's right. I will throw that out there because the Leafs haven't won a cup since.
Next question.
67. Tony is asking, as we got 3.5 minutes left, is there any correlation between certain shapes and certain hot spots?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you were at one of my presentations, the last couple of presentations, I get to the last half hour and I flash up the United States map, and I do the map down to the zip code for one shape. We'll say, here's blimps, and you'll see just a couple of spots. Here's triangles. You'll see all the zip codes, triangles shows up. And there are hot spots that are related to certain certain shapes. Can I tell you what they are right this minute? I'm still researching that. Okay, at this time, remember I discovered those 750 hotspots. I haven't gone in and done breakout reports to find out if they're dominated by a particular shape, but that's on my list.
All right, let's move to Troy SR71. Based on your professional experience, Bob and Cheryl, is there any reason to believe aliens exist and are stationed on our planet?
We walk by them every day and sit next to them on the bus.
More than Cheryl believed that. And Preston Dennett can give you all sorts of statistics that show there's something out by Catalina Island where the 2004 Nimitz stuff happened. And there's something there. So we are about to make a discovery, I think.
Oh, a big one. If you think people are paranoid now by a lot of stuff, when they hear how much of them are here, there are, from a metaphysical standpoint, there are people here that their bodies are kind of like a timeshare Airbnb. They're actually channeling people from other places, So, there's a lot of aliens walking around on this planet from off-world.
All right, quick final question here from Logan. Is Earth, Mother Gaia, conscious and alive?
Yes. It's a consciousness. It's a consciousness on a different scale. It's like, give an example. You're sitting there trying to play a game of chess with your dog. Okay, it's a different scale of consciousness, but it is. Bigfoot. They found out recently a retired Navy linguist was listening to some tapes his son had, and he said, "My God, that's language." And he listened to like 90 minutes of these tapes he got from some resource. And he was able to, at the presentation I saw, he was pointing out, this is a male, this is the female, and listen to him. It sounded like an old married couple, So yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. consciousness, the Mother Gaia Earth is very much a living entity, but I think the scale of trying to understand it on our human thing, it's like us looking at bugs and she's looking at us like bugs.
And just in case our listeners are interested, our weekend hostess, the Cryptid Huntress, is covered this the language stuff with the Bigfoot recently, a show like 2 or 3 weekends ago. You should listen.
All right, Cheryl Costa, Science Bob McGwier. Thank you for a wonderful episode of Science Bob and Friends. Bob, will talk to you next month. Coming up next, Swamp Dweller is back with another spooky story to kick off hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio next. That's a solid radio show right there.
Jesus,
Solid.
Cheryl, you're a great guest. God Almighty.
Cheryl Costa, everybody. Cheryl Costa.
I've had 4 hours sleep in the last 24, so.
You did great. You did great. You look like you're fresh as a daisy.
Yeah. Okay. Gentlemen,
right,
I'll take my leave of you. And if you ever need anything or you have a unique question here, by all means, let me know and I'll get back to you with it. Okay.
All right, Cheryl.
Thank you, Cheryl. Much
Take
appreciated.
care. And as soon as the first state book comes out, I'll reach out to you.
Great.
All right. Science Bob, we'll talk to you in the morning.
See ya.
Take care, guys. Science Bob, Cheryl Costa. It's just me and Dirty Filth for right now. The fedora-wearing John Hudson will be here very, very soon. I'll be right back, guys.
Once again, Dave leaves me here. Struggling away. All right. Let's see what we're doing here. This is sometime in the future. Science Bob meets a Sasquatch. This was the original drawings from last night that I didn't finish. Because I got tired and then cats promoted me, so. And Spanky from the other show was like, hey, what would an alien look like? So I drew a cartoon for it, so that's the best I could do. Nonetheless. And so I'm going to draw this. This is the next one here. It's like, we're about to make a discovery. And there's Mothman. I'm going to mute this while I cough here. I was considering not to mute myself before I coughed. But here's Mothman so far in the drawing, and he's sitting on top of somewhere in Chicago, probably. That's where Mothman is. He's sitting there, it's like just one, there's like the crappy moon. But it was it's a nice night for Mothman, I guess. But anyways. This is him here. I might as well tell everybody about some other things. Coming up in Spaced Out Radio in the near future, we're going to have more t-shirts. And also, if you're lucky, maybe it's so weird watching it on YouTube. If you're lucky, anyways, this is the next cartoon. Can't believe you left me here, Dave. Guess let's just start a new cartoon here. Let's draw a cartoon of an alien. Kind of alien. Maybe a 10-foot tall alien. Is he cycloptic? We don't know. He's 10 feet tall. Perhaps he's just searching for some sort of place. You hear, it's whiskey. She's whining. Yep. It's whiskey breath. It's a California nightcrawler with eyeballs. It's down here because the cat's whining. Yeah, well, that's what happens, whiskey. California nightcrawler with whiskey breath as the cartoon. That's it. A double pass.
All right. I am back.
Dave, you left me here for a long time, and I was struggling.
I did. That's what I do, Phil.
I know, and I keep showing up for the crap, so I should say.
You're the man during the breaks, buddy.
You gotta you gotta give me a heads up here. Like, you can't just be like,
Hey, man, I'm a rebel that way. I'm a rebel.
yeah. I bet you wear the same pair of socks twice in a row.
I
2 days
don't
in
even
a
have.
row, Dave.
I haven't worn socks today.
Really?
Really?
Well, it must be nice then.
Yeah.
So, anyways, here's the next drawing. It's whiskey
You're doing
breath.
wonderful.
It's a California
You're
nightcrawler. But I gave them pupils is actually what I was looking for. And then of course whiskey saunters away, but nonetheless.
Of course. Yes, Dirty Filth can see the chat. All right, guys. We're going to get going in 15 seconds. Thank you, YJ, Bob, Linda, Big Dog, Cherokee, and Sally for the amazing super chats tonight. We're going to head into Swamp Dweller here. Thank you to all the veterans tuning us on in. We are ready to go. Here we go.
Dave, I actually can't see it unless I look to my left.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us tonight, Clam? Oh, let's take a look here. It is Saponify. Saponify is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as a clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Let's head over to the swamp, where our resident swamp dweller has another spooky story to share with us.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. Hey, Swamp Dweller. My name is Rain, and I am a 25-year-old male living in Missouri. I will state that I am an atheist, and the Dog Man is the only thing that I can say is not supernatural. My first encounter takes place on December 20th, 2017, at Anna M. Adams River Access. My first trip was alone in November or October of the same year. If you're leaving Lebanon, Missouri, on Highway 32, and continue into Falcon, you will come up on Highway K on your left. There is a sign there with a raccoon on it that has the access name on it. Turn down K and continue to Dawn Road. It is the first road on the right. The whole turn here is surrounded by tall pine trees. Dawn Road is an unkept road that leads through dense forest and then a big farm afterward. I recommend a vehicle with 4x4, especially if it has rained or snowed in the past few days. Past the farm, continue straight. You will pass a house on the left before a sharp turn with a guardrail. The turn left before the sharp turn right is the driveway to the access parking lot. I put out the directions for other investigators and warnings for those to stay away. Can't stay away if they don't know where it is. At any time of day, this is an eerie place. Dead silent. The river the access is connected to is the Das Canade River. My first time here was to get a feel for the area. I enjoy conservation centers, and I was curious about what this place was like. How peaceful. It is very peaceful, but at an uncomfortable level. Going down the driveway, you will see a fence, and if you follow it with your eyes, you will see a red cattle gate sort of hidden. I took pictures of it and the rest of the area to show Renee, my girlfriend. In the pictures, the red gate was closed and looked secure in place. This changes later. I got the feeling I was being watched and the idea that I should not go down to the riverfront. I quickly left without panicking to keep myself from scaring myself. Fast forward to December 20th. I was following some dogman sightings and stories from the area in the past 20 years. I found a few and heard of one in Falcon by the river in the summer of 2017. It was just some day that I wondered about werewolves being real and watched some horror films. I came across your YouTube and that sparked my interest. Anyways, there was snow and ice everywhere, and we were surprised that my little car, a 93 Subaru Justy, survived the trip to and from. Renee was with me, and as I was showing her the place I found, the ride through the mud I talked about, the ifs and whats of the dogman sightings in the area, and what we would, expect, and that we should respect the woods and territory. Back then, I was a bit of a nut about it, but I don't think my superstition has anything to do with my psychedelic encounter. When we pulled up, we had both forgotten what we were talking about on the way. Some more backstory. Renee didn't think it was serious and real. I'm schizophrenic, and I would understand if she thought that I was delusional. I wasn't the first to have the being watched feelings. We went down the concrete ramp and began to compete on who could throw rocks the furthest onto the ice. The river was frozen over. I then stopped and told her that I have had a very bad feeling that we were being watched, and Renee said that she had started feeling it before me, but didn't want to spook me. The idea of something, someone, or anything watching was a horrifying idea, and it didn't help that we talked about the dogman on the way here. We quickly walked to my car, trying to seem as relaxed as possible. It could have been a mountain lion stalking us. We really didn't know the truth, but we were still assuming the worst. We tore out of there as fast as I could drive without sliding into the mud and wrecking. The entire time we both felt like something was all around us, watching us and closing in on us. We were very vocal and informative with each other. It was only until we got onto Highway 32 that we started to relax and the feeling started to go away. At that time in our relationship, she still lived with her parents at 19, so I took her home, and then I went home and thought long and hard on what had just happened and if it was real. Before bed, I was able to distract myself with my music and video games, so I was doing that and napping. I have this dream of sitting in my living room with Renee. Then she starts to wig out, twist, expand, and then turn into the dogman. I pulled out my knife to defend myself and ran myself into a corner. I was freaking out and crying. My dream ended with the dog man standing in front of me with his arms high and out and his head coming down. I remember the hair and the smell of this thing. I'm freaking myself out now just by talking about it. I am then seeing my home from the outside before jolting awake. I probably fell back to sleep 10 or so minutes later. I get up at 6 a.m. and call my girlfriend to tell her about my dream. She had one to tell me as well. Hers was almost exactly the same, only it was in her perspective of changing into becoming a dog man. She described the look on my face and the fear. She too woke up at 3 a.m. that same night as I. She didn't think that it was real until then. We are both straightforward thinkers and logical. She then told me that the red gate from the picture had changed. It was more broken when she saw it at the access. My third trip there was with my friend Alex, who was skeptical. And then was when I saw the red gate for myself, and it was all distorted. Anything could have happened to it, but nobody comes out here. Everything looks untouched. In legend and other encounter victims, it is said that dogmen are telepathic, and many have had nightmares following their encounters. Many say that they dream of seeing what the creature sees as a ride-along, and is unable to direct themselves as we are stuck in some sort of trance. They run with it through the forest and come to an opening where their house is, and they can see some sort of distorted version of their own home. I have done my own research and got a lot of evidence and theories of what may have happened to the Dry Knob access, which is the first access you come to across on Highway 32 if heading from Lebanon. I found claw marks and shaving of trees, big patches of disturbed grass and dirt as if something had jumped and landed. We have deer in that area, and I could see their paths through the very tall grass. Dry Knob is a much bigger place than Adams Access, and is more popular for picnickers and fishermen. There's an old, cleared trail from the gravel driveway into the woods. When it rains a lot, this area is always flooded, and it is obvious that the way the plants have grown and how it looks, that it hasn't been touched for a long time. I found a stack of medium-sized branches in a tree that were definitely broken in an obvious way. When it gets me through, it is on the path near its entrance I found a shotgun shell under the old leaves. You're not supposed to hunt here. Since then, I have calmed down on my research and set it aside. I felt that I was going to get into uncharted territory that is best left alone.
Very eerie indeed, and we say thank you to the big swamp dweller for hanging on out with us, telling us another spooky story. You can check out all of his items and thousands of stories by going to youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. So make sure you check that on out. All right, speaking of checking things out, it's time once again where we bring in the Unbiased UFO Report and the fedora-wearing John Hudson. Let's do this thing.
Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know.
All right, the fedora-wearing John Hudson, all the way in beautiful California. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. How about you?
You know what? I have a piece of lettuce that's been stuck in my teeth all night long, and I can't get it out. And I've been stuck in the studio here because I can't run up and grab some dental floss. It's driving me nuts right now. Driving me nuts.
Yeah, I could only imagine. I could only imagine, and it's funny because we have all these sensors built in to give us direct sensitivity to those things for our own health, and then when it's an optional thing, we're deciding not to do it, we suffer anyways. So yeah, yay body.
I get it. All right, let's start off with Chris Mellon tonight, who was interviewed and said some pretty interesting things, man.
Yeah, well, the thing that was really taken by this is this is this is a gentleman. I mean, I don't even know if there's any point in going on about Christopher Mellon, but I mean, this is a gentleman who has served some very distinguished offices, and he has maintained a solid reputation for a very long period of time. And so, for him to be going on these kind of more kind of standard places, and then talking like this, it's really. It blows my mind. But in this case particular, what was so amazing about this is that essentially when he was talking to the woman, he is the one that said, well, you remove this and you remove that and you remove this, and all you essentially have left is the alien hypothesis. And he basically states that he believes that at this point, the alien hypothesis has the most, weight behind it. And he doesn't break a smile. She doesn't smirk. It was kind of I don't even know if he's right, but the fact that he said that, I personally, I was blown away. And all I kept thinking was like, he's channeling, our it's aliens guy, because it was just amazing to see him talking like that. And no, true, you could look at him over a long trajectory, and you could see that he, has essentially been moving in this direction the whole time. It's not like this is completely out of character for him, but to me, it is a very, it is something that you would only say if you're starting to feel very, very comfortable.
The fact that you were comparing Chris Mellon to Giorgio Tsoukalos, I wonder if Mellon would look good in that hair.
Well, we can find out. The wonders of artificial intelligence. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is that, right now there's so many people talking on so many different, channels and streams and so forth, that you really do have to kind of pick your battles. And, ideally you do want to kind of, narrow yourself down to, a couple people who you like their style of presenting, and so you can go to them more often. And Mellon's certainly one that I would recommend to people. But yeah, I mean, it was just what you had was, basically, if we went back, say 5 years, right, you could argue that Giorgio Tsoukalos was on the far end of the spectrum of what he was open to talk about, and Mellon was on the complete opposite side of the spectrum from a very conservative point of view, right? And now you have Mellon saying things that we have entire memes about for Giorgio Tsoukalos. That is shocking to me.
I would expect that tomorrow you will have memes made up of Chris Mellon saying it's aliens
with the hair.
Exactly. Where was this Mellon interview taking place?
This was in, and I was just looking it up again to make sure I had it right here. But it was, where'd it go? I was just looking at it. Where did it go? Yeah, there it is. Okay. So basically it was an interview it was actually a while ago. That was the one thing that I was a little sorry about, is somehow I missed this one. But this one was actually from February 5th. And it looks like it is from, let me turn my volume down right here so that we don't hear it. It's something called Rising something or other. It appears to be a local news station. And I'm sorry, I thought we actually had all the information here when you clicked on their link. But on their own link to their own show, it doesn't actually give the poor woman's name. So I apologize. But their link will be included, and you guys can check it out yourself. But he wasn't talking to Tucker Carlson, right? I mean, he was talking to a very normal, nice, someone who you'd expect to get normal news from,
So with him, and you know what, lately it's weird because as the politicians have regressed backwards to the threat narrative, we have seen so many people like Mellon, Elizondo, Bill Nelson at NASA all of a sudden talking extraterrestrials. So should we be surprised by this?
it's not so much that we should or should not be surprised. It's that you should realize that there are pieces on the chessboard that each have different tolerances. They have different tolerances to how much they'll be impacted by the information that comes out around them. They'll have tolerances to how much information they're willing to share. They'll have tolerances as to how much other people share impacts how much they share. And they each have different settings. And as a new wave of information comes out, you get to observe how each part and each piece handles it. And this allows you to learn something about each of those pieces. So that's why it's so important to look at each of the people, see how each of them react to it. Very often that's actually more important than the information that's coming out.
All right, and we heard earlier tonight that Nat Geo has a UAP team, one of them assigned to Space Force. Were you pretty shocked to hear Bob talk about this, Science Bob?
Absolutely. The thing is that, am I surprised that Nat Geo sent someone to SU? No, that in itself I'm not surprised by. Am I surprised that Nat has a UAP group? Yeah, pretty surprised. It's super surprised that they are open to share that information. Really shocked that the person from that organization would be willing to be vocally share that information. And thirdly, that he would be assigned to Space Force and be able to share that information. It was a lot of sharing. And, Bob's a very likable guy. And, I'm sure that sometimes people say things to him that shouldn't, but I'm guessing that this is all cool. And yeah, so this is all, to that point, Bob is withholding the guy's name in deference to him, but because he was not an entry-level engineer. He was, I believe he was a deputy director, if I remember correctly. This. And the other thing that blew my mind about this is that when you're in organizations at large, new groups being created, in my experience, is not a fast thing. And then those groups actually deciding to reach outward to other orgs in their own org is time consuming. And then for them to start reaching out to other orgs outside of their company is a whole nother stage. And so the fact that you have a UAP group within that basically has evolved to the point that one of them, assuming that there's more than one of them, in some staff meeting a couple weeks ago said, "Oh, hey, there's this SCU conference going. I think I should go because I might be able to learn something." And the rest of the team went, "Yeah, that's a great idea. Let us know how it went." And he went, and how did that work out, right? That shows that there was a lot of process. There's a lot of actual bureaucracy that has evolved to allow them to actually have this person send them here, and then to have this person assigned to Space Force. But my point is that a lot more has happened than I thought.
Well, the other thing that we have to be cognizant of too, Nat Geo, part of Space Force, Daniel Sheehan a week ago lets it slip out that Lou Elizondo is part of Space Force. I mean, this is something that is truly, truly growing. And, I remember, John, going way back. I think this was before you joined us. But I remember having a conversation on this show regarding the fact that when Space Force was set up, that everybody was talking about what it would be doing. And we were talking and maybe even joking a little bit, this has to be for aliens. This has to be for UFOs. And now we're starting to see them starting to build a real UFO team.
Yeah. I mean, it's it is absolutely shocking. And the thing is, there's lots of other things going on under the covers too. In that essentially you look at Salvador Paez, the engineer who created those Navy patents that everyone is all excited about. He was with the Navy when he did those patents. After that, he moved to the Air Force. Then while in the Air Force, he was part of the Air Force, one of the Air Force units that got then taken out of the Air Force and put into the Space Force. So he is now Space Force as well.
Absolutely. John, I'm going to put you on hold right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour here, and the fedora wearing John Hudson will continue with the Unbiased UFO report. When we return, a lot of screenshots by our good friend Jonathan Davies on Twitter at I Want to Know UK, who is really a great citizen journalist when it comes to tracking everything UAP. And you kind of ask us some pretty good questions regarding the SCU, John Alexander, and much, much more. The fedora-wearing John Hudson will have more on this when we return on Spaced Out Radio for the final half hour of tonight's show. We'll see you right after the break. Stay tuned. All right, we're clear. Hi, Headhunter. Welcome to SOR Chat. And what's this? Stretching Buttholes. Welcome to SOR Chat. Who else is here that is new? I think that's it.
Wait,
Sorry?
No, I didn't think NGA was part of Space Force now. But, I mean, I guess that would make sense.
All makes sense. They're all hooking up to the bandwagon. Oh, Dirty Phil says we're on break. It's intermission.
Did you see that? It was too kind of wishy-washy to kind of talk about mainstream. But did you see that Podesta WikiLeaks email that came out talking about the fast walker picked up by the Deep Space Network?
No.
It's actually, because basically, one of the big challenges with the Air Force has been that there's been a lot of apparent word games played. For example, there was a time where NORAD was reporting no contacts, and then someone discovered that they had actually they named their contacts fast walkers. And when someone basically rescanned the data set for that, they found a large number of contacts. So that's the other challenge, is that we have very intentional obfuscation going on.
Hold on. I have to say good evening to the gorgeous Angel Wings, because otherwise I'm going to be in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble, John. So there we go.
There you go.
Yeah, Stretching Buttholes, you better leave that name up. I'm not going to lie. It makes me laugh. It does. Makes me laugh.
Reminds me of those old movies. What was the last movie I saw that actually had the intermission in it? Probably Gone with the Wind. Didn't Gone with the Wind have an intermission built into it? I think it did.
I don't know.
Oh, come on, Dave. You're old. You're not supposed to know these movies.
Ouch! I'm only like 3 years older than you.
Yeah, but Canadians age different, so.
All right, we got about 90 seconds, brother.
Do you ever watch any of this reaction stuff on YouTube where like people react to like crazy things online? It's very entertaining.
Hold on. Can't see right now. No. NGA people are assigned to Space Force. That's what Science Bob says.
They're okay. It totally makes sense that they would be. I didn't remember hearing that they had been officially, but I mean that makes perfect sense. It'd be kind of weird if they weren't. Got to admit, though, I'm kind of sad some of these places losing some of their autonomy. Some of them had cool names and cool histories on their own. I mean, they still exist within Space Force, but still.
True. Hey, Stretching Buttholes, you're making our resident Fapster a little jealous by your name tonight. I've never seen him get that jealous before. He's blushing. That's funny.
I will always have such a warm space in my heart for the NRO.
Just a little warm spot in your heart, eh?
I grew up right next to them.
Thank you to Sally, Cherokee, Big Dog, Linda, Bob, and YJ for the amazing super chats. Here we go, everyone. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out that swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the fedora-wearing John Hudson and the Unbiased UFO Report. Now, the SCU, Scientific Coalition of UAP Studies, held a giant Who's Who conference last week, John, down in Huntsville, Alabama, and our own resident Science Bob was there to check it on out. But there were some real interesting comments, especially about the Wilson documents. You want to bring this up?
Yes, but I want to say just first off that it should be noted that the fact that it was put in Huntsville, Alabama, is a very interesting item on its own, right? Because Huntsville, Alabama, is in many ways the center of rocketeering, like in general, and sure, there's other things going on now with SpaceX and so forth, but I mean, Huntsville, Alabama, it's there's real magic there, and the fact that they decided to hold a conference there really shows the type of people they were trying to attract to that conference, and that in itself is different. And it's a good thing. But to your point, this was, I mean, everyone knows that, the Wilson Davis documents are, heavily contested, heavily debated, heavily refuted, heavily loved, heavily this, heavily that. They were also entered into congressional record as a result of the first House hearing. And essentially, John Alexander was on stage and was essentially asked a question about the validity of the Wilson document, and John Alexander did something that I've never met the man, but I can now tell you that because of this, I adore him. I love this kind of humor in people. He answered the question by not answering the question. He didn't say anything at all to the question. He just pointed at Dr. Eric Davis, who was sitting there in the audience, and said, "I don't know, ask him." And so, or why don't you ask him? And this was a incredibly, you you could almost argue passive aggressive in a weird sort of way. But this was a very, very sly way of John Alexander to say that he does believe that the Wilson document is real, and that he does believe that Eric Davis wrote it. And for him to say that in the way he did was very, very funny. And my understanding, because I haven't seen the footage yet, my understanding was that it was not lost on the crowd, that there was some laughing and some enjoyment over the spectacle of it. But that was just the fact that he they're even taking questions on the Wilson Davis document, to me, is astounding.
I wonder what it would have been like to be in Eric Davis's shoes when Alexander pretty much pointed him out and said, yeah,
Flooded.
yes.
We might no. To be fair, Eric Davis at one point in the past worked for John Alexander, so that they have a relationship, and so it's entirely possible that John Alexander tipped him off beforehand and said, "Hey, just be warned. I'm gonna out you," or he did it as it played out. Either way, it was very funny, and to me, like one of the honestly one of the highlights of the entire conference. I think that was just fantastic. But it didn't just stop there. But essentially, yes. I mean, you have John Alexander, who, for those of you that don't know, is a very significant intelligence. He's someone who did a lot of work in non-lethal military operations and so forth. And he's connected like you wouldn't believe. And then for him to be at the conference too was a huge deal. To that point, there were some other interesting questions asked. Like, for example, Alexander was specifically asked if he would testify if called before Congress. And he actually responded with a rather emphatic yes, but admitted that he had no idea what he would be able to say, which, I thought was very funny. And the thing is that's fair, right? I mean, you sometimes you don't know what you're going to be allowed to say, right? I don't want to rush through this too quick, but the next one that I wanted to get to is, and this was kind of like this lovely hit list of we would love you to talk about these items. The MJ-12 documents. The MJ-12 documents are even more challenging than the Wilson Davis documents, and I'll be honest with you, the only reason why I personally put any value at all in the MJ-12 documents up until now is because of Thomas Whitmore, because of his work. I like the way he processed, so I think there's something going on there. But the fact that that someone actually asked about MJ-12 in the conference really shifted things, because what John Alexander actually said was, yes, MJ-12 is real, and I don't know, what I got was is real. I don't know for sure if it is real or was real, but he said it is real. However, it had nothing to do with UFOs. And this is a problem, because the MJ-12 documents do have to do with UFOs. So, in a way, John Alexander kind of admitted that MJ-12 was real, but disqualified. I don't know. That's going to have to be processed. Don't really know how that's going to shift things, but it's going to shift things, because that was, that was John Alexander was on a roll. Let's put it that way. The guy was having a lot of fun.
But you know what? We need to be paying attention to what John Alexander says. And for people who don't know, this is a legendary person within the military and special operations community. He's a very decorated soldier, retired as a colonel, and went on to work on non-lethal weaponry for the military and other private agencies. He is someone who has worked for Robert Bigelow and many of Bigelow's teams regarding strange phenomena from NIDS to bass. And he is also one scary dude for a lot of people.
No,
He freaks a lot of people out.
I have been around a lot of very high-ranking folks, and John Alexander, not even having met him in person, there's something about that man. Yes, I agree. I do find him a little bit intimidating. That is for sure. But I will say about him, though,
I mean,
how nice he does to fellow experiencers, right? I mean, for all the what we just talked about, all the kind of imposed fear of him. The truth of the matter is behind the scenes, he's actually a very supportive, very kind person.
Yet, to some experiencers who have suffered from what they call MILABs or military abductions, many of them claim to have seen John Alexander standing there silently, watching over the experimentations going on. Conspiracy theory, bingo. But nonetheless, John, I mean, this is a gentleman who is about 86, 87 years old. He is, nearing I'm not saying he's dying, but I mean, he's in the latter part of his years. He could who knows, if he's an alien hybrid, he might have another 100 years.
He's probably on his third body. I mean, let's be honest, right? I mean, it's like there's something spooky going on.
True. But I mean, this is a guy, when he speaks, still a lot of people within the UFO community really pay attention.
And there's one more, if I can just say one more. And this one wasn't as exciting after I processed it as it was when I originally read it. But he did say that there was a predating organization to OSAP, and it was ATP, the Advanced Theoretics Project, which that one had been heard of. But the fact that he specifically mentioned ATP as a predecessor organization to OSAP, and that he specifically mentioned that he ran ATP was a pretty interesting set of dots for him to put together for us, just so blankly. Now, I will say that there were also other questions asked, like, for example, Jonathan Davies asked, did you also receive a copy of the Wilson memo when Eric Mitchell got his copy? And is basically now that it's been put into the records, do you think that Adam Wilson will testify? And he completely sidestepped those questions, didn't answer them at all. And keep in mind that those two are aware of each other. So if I guarantee that if John Alexander could have answered his questions, he would have.
True. Anything else coming out of the SEU that was interesting?
You know what? I mean, I know that there's going to be a ton more, but that's the bulk of what I have right now. I mean, the truth of the matter is that there's still a ton of content that hasn't been put out yet, that a lot more people need to pour through. But the thing is that the big deal about these kind of meetings, as much as I hate to say this, because I'm the one that's going to have to look at the content because I didn't get to go, these conferences are never about the content. They're always about the all one-off meetings that happen in the hallways, the one-off meetings that happen at breakfast and at lunch, the one-off meetings that happen at the bar at night. That's what these conferences are about, and it sounds like a 100%. Lot of that happened. A lot of that happened.
Yes, and let's go to our final topic of the night. Andy at That UFO Podcast, which is a good friend of ours, gets some reaction out of filmmaker and documentarian Jeremy Corbell. What happened here?
This was so beautiful. This was so beautiful because you see Jeremy act surprised a fair amount, right? It's part of how he tells stories, right? But my experience, you don't often see him honestly, personally surprised. And basically, what Andy did is he expanded on something that honestly that we've all talked about before, but I guess not in this direction. And that is that if you have cameras that are recording activity that have classified aspects of the camera, you can't release it, not because of what's on the film, but because of the camera. The same is true where the camera is. If the camera is mounted to something that is classified, that may change things. If the camera is physically in a place that it shouldn't be, and therefore it's classified, that becomes a problem. And basically that's what Andy brought up, is the idea that if you had something, say a really good video of a UAP, but it was over Russia during a time period where we had no business being over Russia at that point, then what would happen to that video, and where would that fall? And basically Andy asked about this, and Jeremy physically reacted, and it was fantastic. I put up a message about it on Twitter, and I'll retweet it, and I'll copy Spaced Out Radio, and you guys can check it out, because I cut the film, and I just have a little 20-second video of just Jeremy's surprise. I think it needs to turn into a GIF. It's really good. Jeremy looks fantastic.
Yeah, he's got some good beard game going on recently.
Oh, he does.
Just a little bit of a trim there, and it is looking very, very strong and tight. But Jeremy has been making the rounds lately, and even stopping by on our last roundtable where we were talking a lot about Luis Elizondo. We had a lot of UFO people on it. Jeremy stopped by in our chat room, which is a rarity, but he was right in there just getting ready to listen up on everything and asking pertinent questions from our crowd. I mean, he's trying to find that area for himself right now.
That is what I absolutely love about Jeremy Corbell, and it's what I wish more people would focus on, is his energy. That boy has so much energy, and it's awesome. And he will throw it and dedicate it wherever he sees value. And it's cool. It's very cool. It's very, very cool. I get why he rubs people wrong the same way. I do. I totally do. But you gotta respect the passion. He's got the energy of 3 people in him.
Johnny boy, thank you for the unbiased UFO report. Appreciate you having it on, buddy.
Thank you. Thanks for everyone for hanging out. Appreciate it.
All right, let's head over to Shirky Poo's news.
What time is it? It's time for Shirky Poo's news.
Yeah, Shirky Poo's got us all hot to trot right now. Let's head over to Texas, shall we? Everything's always bigger in Texas. Something strange, though, was recently spotted near the Amarillo Zoo. On May 21st at about 1:30 in the morning, security cameras surrounding the zoo captured a peculiar image, to say the least. The silhouette resembled several things. Was it a zoo employee wearing a big hat, maybe a teenager dressed up in a wolf costume, or perhaps a large coyote standing on its hind legs? Some have even suggested chupacabra. For now, the zoo is calling this creature a UAO, unidentified Amarillo object. City officials want their community to weigh in too. It's definitely a strange and interesting image, said Michael Kashuba, City of Amarillo, Director of Parks and Rec. Maybe Amarillo can solve the mystery of our UAO. The public is more than welcome to submit their own theories on the true identity of it. It is also important to note that this entity was outside of the Amarillo Zoo. There were no signs of any attempted entry into the zoo. No animals or individuals were harmed. There were no signs of criminal activity or vandalism. It's very, very interesting because realistically, this thing looks like a dog man. Yeah, a mini dog man. Here, if you're on our YouTube channel, I will show this, and on Twitch as well. If you look at this, I mean, there's the photo. It looks like a dog, maybe a younger Meatloaf, going back to the day of Bat Out of Hell. No, but seriously, this is a dog walking on 2 legs. It's very weird. Looks like it has a tail. It's got a bushy head, almost like a shepherd type head. or a coyote. It's very interesting. I'm not sure. Could it have been a hoax? Quite possibly. Probably never find out. Here's a gross one. A shark sliced in half has washed up on a beach, raising questions about what bigger predator may have attacked it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I tell you, stay out of the ocean. Yeah, a Reddit user posted a gruesome photo of a decomposing body while he was revealing, he saw the poor guy washed up Oak Island. You know where they're looking for treasure? Which left Reddit users theorizing what actually happened to the shark. Quote was, saw this poor guy yesterday at Oak Island. Any ideas what it is? Now, one user wrote, this was not a boat accident. This wasn't any propeller. This wasn't any coral reef, and it wasn't Jack the Ripper. It was a shark, a great white shark. Yep. Because there's great whites up there. That's why I never traveled to the eastern Canada. They got great whites there. Yep. I believe it was a great white. I do. Sawed it right in half. The royal family certainly has a long and colorful history, and so it's only to be expected that more than a few spooky stories surround Her Majesty's sprawling estates. As grand as the royal residences undoubtedly are, you may want to bring a nightlight with you should you ever be invited to stay. Many ghostly occurrences have been reported over the years, from unexplained bloodstains and loud footsteps to full-blown apparitions. With the Platinum Jubilee now in full swing for Queen Lizzie, members of the royal family will be banding together to celebrate her 70-year reign. Her hauntings? Well, start off with Windsor Castle, built in the 11th century, said to be the most haunted of all royal residences, ranked third most haunted place in the UK. Notable as the site of many royal weddings, there have been more than 25 reported ghostly sightings at the castle over the years. Frogmore Cottage coming in number 2. This is the former home of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Rumors of restless spirits began rumbling after Princess Eugenie and her husband Jack Brooksbank moved out. Sandringham Castle, where the royal family traditionally gathers for Christmas celebrations. Well, there's some ghosts there too. A young Prince Charles said a footman once fled in terror from the library after a strange coldness descended, with the pair feeling as though somebody was right behind them. Eerie. Yeah, you know Queen Elizabeth is haunted herself. Damn right she is. You can't lead for 70 years without having a few ghosts following you. Big thank you to Shirky Poo for the news, Fedora John for the UFO report, Swamp Dweller for a great story, and Bob and Cheryl for a great show on Science Bob and Friends tonight. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Great show, people. Thank you, M. Bison, for that super chat. Love you too back, man. We got any lawnmower mechanics in our chat room? I'm dead serious about this, actually. Any lawnmower mechanics?
I can figure that stuff out for you, Dave.
Hold on, Elf. I didn't know you were still here.
Oh, well, of course I'm lurking.
You scared me, actually, because I took my headphones off.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you need parts, I can probably...
No, I don't need parts. I need to figure out... I have an old Craftsman riding lawnmower. And my deck will not move. And it's kind of slanted on the left. And it's digging in. And I'm wondering... I have to look at it tomorrow. Because I have to make... I got to try and fix it, man. I don't need a $3,000 bill for another lawnmower right now. You know what I'm saying?
Hold on a second, Dave. You're saying that you need a lawnmower, but your deck isn't working, so you have to...
I have a riding lawnmower.
Yeah,
like
you said your deck was broken.
Well, the deck is slanted. It's not moving up and down properly.
Oh, I was thinking... to be honest, I was thinking about like the deck outside your house when you walk out.
No, not that deck.
Normal people
What
have
the
a
fuck
deck.
would I need to with a lawnmower if my deck was
talking about?
I'm tell you right now, I'm gonna suplex you next time I see you.
Fuck, Dave, you better be quick, buddy.
Yeah, all I need to do is grab a hold of your chest hair, and you're never getting away.
Not happening. But anyway, actually, if you actually need anything like mechanical stuff, just shoot me a text.
Oh,
Probably
hold on.
help you out.
YJ has a good point. The deck is held up by springs, like trampoline springs. I bet you're missing a spring. Interesting.
Well, Dave's a wrestling fan, so. Anyways,
I
gotta go, Dave. I gotta go to bed.
Yeah, fine. Get the hell out of here. See you tomorrow night.
See you later, bye.
You're coming back on tomorrow night?
Yeah, I'll be back and I'll bug you some more.
Cool.
Hope you're having a night, man. And,
hey, buddy, thanks you for your wonderful art. Everybody enjoys when you're on here, dude.
Well, I hope that everybody finds a $5 bill rolling down the street one day. Okay, bye.
We got to... All right, see you later. Yeah. Watch you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. There we go. Let's put that right there. Cut that. That's a good start right there. Wonderful show tonight. Oh, nice. Which side of the mower do you mount to dismount? From the left. You get on from the left because the dangerous side is on the right. I do have a manual, Joe. The 88-year-old man that I bought the lawnmower off of had everything, man. It was awesome. Yes, the left side of the deck is tilted. How exactly do you drive? Usually sober. Definitely sober. I'm interested in that spring thing. Oh, dirty filth. Fuck yeah, dirty filth. Fuck yeah, buddy. God, I love the guy. Oh, where's my ending here? Should be right there. Should be right there. SOR3. Does this seem to be taking forever today? Hi, gorgeous Jordan Ashley Pettit. How are you? Nice to see you. I think gorgeous Jean Beckett was in earlier, too. My backyard lawn is so long that tomorrow I will literally have to start by weed whacking my grass. All of it. And I've got like a third of an acre to do. What's my favorite topic to discuss? Either UFOs, the whole UFO field, or cryptids. I'm not really big into the paranormal. To me, it's just, there's great people in it, but to me, it's just become so flaky. And we're not even talking like tender flake from a pie. No, I didn't run over Nick Pope with my lawnmower. Just remember, if Nick Pope was doing play-by-play of me mowing my lawn, he would first have to get Elizondo's opinion and then repeat everything Elizondo said as his own. Well, thank you, Burger Hustler. Space Cadet, how you doing, man? Good to see you. YJ, you are completely right. Consciousness and the phenomena are all. It is everything in one. And people need to start understanding that. That is a very, very important aspect to everything. Because I will tell you this, and I'm not going to mention names. The people who I have had serious conversations with. Hey, Wes H., how you doing? serious conversations with. We'll never go public about the woo, but they are major, major woo people. Major woo people. Oh, 100% YJ. 100%. It's like the old Disney movie, Flight of the Navigator, man. I'm telling you, I believe all of those, I mean, I can't say all, but the majority of UFO ships that are flying are biological technology. And you fly it through your consciousness. Within 35 years. So for most of us. Superdor, I will be fine. I will just go make sure there's no wild animals outside first. I'll be right back, guys. You guys chat away. All right. Give me 2 seconds, everyone. Yeah, that's very, very right, John. All right, let me just get this started here. Oh, cool. We got some giraffe action happening at the Tembe Elephant Park. Look at that. Some big giraffes there. We rarely look at them all. It's awesome. Oh, that's all right, Jordan. Work comes first, honey. Yeah, that one's taking a poop right there. Nice giraffe poop. Looks like deer poop. Very cool. Got some giraffes. We rarely get giraffes around here. The one tree that's in the way. The giraffe's got to be there. Like, look how they got to spread their legs in order to get down there just to take a drink. Good night, Al Menial. Thanks for popping by, buddy. You know, it's really cool. Our show has, in the last 30 days, has 479,681 impressions and has been downloaded 66,098 times. That's kind of cool. That is very cool. Total, we have been downloaded since the beginning on Spreaker in 2016. We have been downloaded 4,065,182 times. That's kind of cool. It's very cool. Hey, cameraman, kind of screwing up here. Oh, look at those two giraffes. They're kind of getting a little frisky there. The male there saying, hey, honey, what do you think? A little youngin' right there. She's like, Mom, Dad, you calm the hell down. Come on, Nancy. Not in front of the kid, man. Some giraffe porno happening here. Giraffes are awesome. Wham Bam Ham, how you doing? Burger Hustler. I'm just doing what I need to do, man. Doing what I need to do. It's weird how they got to bend their legs in order to get a drink. You'd think those thin pencil legs would just snap. Bear with me here 1 second, guys. All right, there we go. That one's done. Upload this one. Tomorrow night on the show, Dolly Saffron will be with us. We're going to talk about her amazing lifelong journey of experiences with extraterrestrials. It's going to be fun, friggin' awesome. It really will be. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too. It's going to be amazing. Super Duke. Super Duke. I'm really happy with the giraffes tonight. I really am. No, there's no gators in this little pond. Look at those two. They just keep getting frisky. The boys over there, Josh. I don't care, Nancy. I don't care. I'm feeling the need. Perverts. Wham, bam, bam. Oh, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. Look at this giraffe. It's like, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? Hey, asshole, I'm talking to you. What are you looking at? It better not have been me. Thought it was me. Huh? Is it me? You looking at me? What are you going to do about it? You can't do anything about it. I'm 17 feet tall, you prick. Well, there's 5 of them now. Very cool. All right, that is done. Look at Fab. How rude. Dave's first car was a Brontosaurus because the wheel wasn't invented yet. This coming from a guy who can land an AH-64 Apache on the top of his head. Training the little one how to fight. Good job. All right. It is that time once again, everyone, where I must head off to bed. I have to get up with my boy in the morning for school. But soon, my friends, we shall hang out again. And I appreciate each and every one of you coming on in. Thank you tonight to Dutch Sally, Cherokee, Big Dog, Linda, Bob, YJ, and Bison for the awesome super chats tonight. Very much appreciate each and every one of you for supporting SOR. Thank you for all the thumbs up tonight. If you haven't already, hit it up. We got 95. Before we shut this down, can we hit 100 thumbs up, please? Hi, gorgeous Teresa. How are you? So let's see if we can do that. There's 96. Come on. 98. Two more. Two more if you don't mind. There we go. Thank you so much, everyone. Believe it or not, the thumbs up or thumbs down is actually important to the algorithms for what we do. So if we could get over 100 a night, that would be wonderful. It would be. And really appreciate it, everyone. All your love and everything, we really appreciate it. I'm going to be making a new extra here this weekend. So we'll talk to you then, everyone. I'm going to mow my lawn tomorrow. So see you then.